What's up, Smite fans? Aggro here. We've got a brand new edition of Roll Queue coming out soon. With Hi-Rez Expo and the Smite World Championships right around the corner, we figured what better time than to sit down with some of the best to ever do it and the ones that have actually won the World Championships and see exactly what it was like to raise the ultimate trophy, to achieve their ultimate goal. So make sure you tune into this new episode of Roll Queue and see what Barra and the boys spent their first World's paycheck money on. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Check it out.
And if you haven't watched any of the Roll Queue yet, go back and watch them. We've been doing it with multiple roles. Aggro's been sitting down with multiple different teams, well, players from different teams, to talk about what it's like to play their role and get a bit of an insight. Check it all out at the YouTube Smite Pro. For now, though, that's it to talk about promotional stuff. It's time to move on with the minor league. And today, we've got another big game underway momentarily. Joining me to break that down is going to be the one and only Anatoly.
Queso up against Outcold Gaming in a very important set between these two teams based on the standings thus far, because they are tied at 4-3, as they even have a equal plus and minus record at 9-7, and now with the loss from Flashpoint that go down to 5-3, whoever wins this is going to be tied with Flashpoint, at least in the record standings.
And the big key of this one, Tolly, if whoever loses is kind of out of contention, I guess, for trying to make it to World still, right?
It'll be close. It'll be very unlikely. Their chances go down to under 10%, and their destiny would be out of their control. But whoever wins this would still have the destiny under their control.
Always the big thing with teams is to try and make sure you have your own destiny ahead of you. You know, you actually get to control it and not have to sit and watch. We've seen one or two teams scrape through at times, though, relying on others. Once upon a time, a very famous Space Station Gaming team did that. Well, it wasn't SSG at the time. I think it was LG they were called.
Oh, that's right. In Season 3, when they needed to...
Barra and Jeff needed Trixtank and Cuvo to win for them.
That Orbit squad.
Yeah, it was a crazy time there. It does happen. Geb will be the first ban from Outcold Gaming here. No opportunities for that in this one. I'm expecting to see some Persephone, some Isis, some Thor, and some Set.
Apparently some Amaterasu on top of it. We saw how effective it was. I think Amaterasu in that last set had 100% win rate, or very close to it. So I think that this is going to be a very prevalent pick in the future for not just minor league, but we've seen it in the SPL as well.
What is this game plan with these picks and bans going through? 2 support bans from Outcold so far. Will they make it a third here? Isis is the only thing banned, which means at the moment Set or Persephone could get through if Outcold don't choose to ban one of them.
And
they're
Thor.
going to go the top.
Thor is also available now. Those are the top 3 remaining picks, and this is going to be probably a mind game where Queso could leave all 3 open if they really want to, that they can get 2 of the 3, but now leaving 2 between the Persephone and the Thor. Outcold Gaming probably locking the Persephone, and Queso expecting that, going to get the global pressure on the Thor.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Anatoly. Well, doesn't PrettyPriMe play on Outcold Gaming?
Yes, you are correct.
And they're going to give him Persephone?
I think that's what it's looking like at the very least. I don't expect it to go in the long lane for Spudio, but crazier things have been done.
I'm not going to lie, I think Persephone's probably one of the strongest guards in the game right now. That's why we see a consistent amount of bans towards it. In the very few games we've seen her play him, she's done very well. We'll see how PrettyPriMe does with this in Game 1. Do you like the Olorun pick, however? And Kuzenbo is a very interesting choice for second pick.
The Thorns, the reflect damage, I think is a nice little touch to try to deal with the Persephone.
Oh, is that the idea?
That could be it. Like you're setting up a bunch of plants, you're about to detonate, all of a sudden Kuzenbo pops the spiked shells to reflect some of that damage, but it's more important about how you can lock in the Persephone, right? That sumo slam is a good little touch.
Cabrakan going to be picked up for Outcold Gaming here, more than likely for the jungle position here. Seen it often pretty much in the jungle this season. It's starting to grow back into play again. Lots of aggression, lots of CC chains, can make a bigger impact. And tier 2, these picks I'm interested in. I'm actually enjoying this draft right now. It's something a little bit different.
It wouldn't be a Team Queso match if it wasn't for Julio on the tier. It's one of his go-to picks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for a blink at level 1. He loves it to play aggressive. He even starts with a Mage's Blessing from time to time.
And with that, the Jormungandr taken away by Queso here. They've been surprised by a Jormungandr ban, though, when King Arthur and Cabrakan have already been selected.
Yeah, with Jormungandr, that means that they're expecting Outcold Gaming to
King
have run that.
Because where are you going to put Jorm? Are you going to put Jorm solo?
You could put his support.
What, Jorm? Yeah, I guess, but does he really bring the same sort of pressure?
Not necessarily, but the die potential is very high. Maybe you run Yorming under mid with Persephone in the long lane.
Oh, good call.
That could be spicy.
Always forget about Yorm mid. We're not seeing it in quite a while. Zeros was the biggest proponent of that. Thor Susano banned out then by Outcold Gaming. All going to be selected for Queso. So it's probably all in the mid lane. Olorun to the long lane, as you'd normally expect. With where Olorun kind of sits there, he wants to farm up and play relatively safe. Outcold Gaming there with the Serqet pickup now.
Looking for the last breath to reduce the healing now onto Tyr, onto Olorun as well. We've seen a lot of aggressive Serqet supports, and that's probably where it's going to lead me to believe, because Cabrakan jungle's presence is more impactful that early game.
Speaking of this as well, Chernobog now drafted for Outcold Gaming. That could actually go to mid lane, which means we may see Persephone in the long lane.
Yeah.
It is a possibility there. Chernobog in the middle feels a little bit better to me for the escapability and the option of ulting across to either side of the map.
Just depends on what your intentions are, right? Like, you're getting more levels in the long lane. Do you want a higher level Persephone or a higher level Chernobog?
I think I want Primary. Let's find out what the casters have to say.
Well, let's see if it is indeed going to be Prime that pilots a Persephone, as Breez already under some trouble in this early game. It's Finch and aggro. We might not have time for intros if Breez is already under duress here this early on. Warchi on the Ullr, trying to lock him down. Axe just barely out of range.
Shoutouts to 6% movement speed from Boots 1. The difference maker right there. I think this is the right call.
Before, by the way.
Yeah, never once. I love the idea of putting Prime on this Persephone in the mid lane. I'm surprised. I mean, we've seen teams clearly show that they aren't ready for this pick, as Breez still in some trouble on this right, but he's okay. I'd be shocked if Prime wasn't ready for it. This seems like a type of god that he can do very well on. It's complicated. It is hard to play, and PrettyPriMe has proven that he can play gods like this throughout his entire career. I don't mind Queso doing it, I guess, but maybe not against PrettyPriMe, man. I do think you have to make teams prove they are ready with this pick. Don't think I would have done it for Prime.
And they banned some good stuff. It was the Amaterasu, the set, I believe, and then at some point something's going to make it through, and I guess the Persephone, I was making the case for it earlier with a newer god. You know, I feel like you gotta lose to it once sometimes before you're convinced they can play it. So I don't think I hate it too much here on the side of Team Queso. And maybe this Kuzenbo is a good answer. You heard them talking about it on the desk, that potentially this Kuzenbo could be a good response.
It certainly can work, but Persephone's not super immobile. I mean, Flourish is on a really low cooldown.
Yes.
Come the late game. You have to max it out, but once you do, it's pretty low for most dashes, especially among the mage class. Only goes down to an 11-second cooldown late game. You want to be using it aggressively and defensively. I don't know, man. I think Persephone is absolutely bonkers, but
so if I also have 0 CDR, it's 11 seconds.
That's right. 11 seconds, 0 CDR. Yeah. It gets pretty nutty pretty quickly, but she's hard to play and she's hard to execute with. We'll see if Prime's able to step up and play her to her full potential.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised, aside from any potential matchups that might favor Kuzenbo into Persephone. I'm just surprised you don't see more Kuzenbo in general. When you want an aggressive, scrappy support nowadays, who can transition to the late game really well. I feel like Kuzenbo kind of fits that bill, especially if we can get a sumo slam through some minions. That is some really surprising burst damage early on in the game. So you have to make sure you can pilot this Kuzenbo well in the right situations, but I think he can fit into this current meta.
He just doesn't initiate super well, but when you've got a Tyr and a Batz on your side, that's less of an issue. I think it fits the draft pretty nicely here for Queso.
Could be some trouble now for Dimi. There's quite a few members up here to prevent him from going aggressive onto the opposition blue buff. Instead, though, he'll start to step back. Aside from, this Persephone making it all the way through, though, this feels like not too wild of a draft here from these teams. Warchi is on this Ullr, so I imagine he'll be trying to look to bully out this Persephone to the best of his abilities here in the middle lane. And if they can do that, then their mid-game can be pretty nasty when you add in the certain bots.
Certainly has potential. Tons of CC for this Queso squad. I think that's a real big factor for them in locking down this Persephone and the Cabrakan. It forces FrostiaK to go Purification Beads. Cabrakan always wants to end up going Blink with that first relic. So I like it from Queso. Really, for me, this whole game is just, can Breez be the Serqet support that we've seen have a huge impact on games? We saw it in set 1 between Flashpoint and Exordium, how important that can be at times. And how well can PrettyPriMe play on this pick?
Well, there is the Sanctified Field dropped from Chekio. Didn't have much of an option there. Spudio, full HP and nearly full mana, will almost certainly have had him dead to rights in that position, and Chekio elects to use the Sanctified Field over beads or anything. I don't even know that beads would help much in that scenario, but he'll have the cooldown if there is some more problems from on the left side of the lane later on. But that's something that can happen when you have a Chernobog over here against at least an early level Olorun. You can get some pressure.
I like this matchup quite a bit in favor of Spudio. I mean, Chekio has no way to get out of your Chernobog root combo. If you can consistently land that, you're going to put him in a really awkward position where he has to burn Sanctified Field or he has to burn the Purification Beads, and that sets up for a really easy gank for FrostiaK or for Breez. I think that Olorun's super strong. Breez in trouble.
Breez in more than trouble. He's absolutely done. First blood picked up by Queso with a nice blink into the Fear No Evil there from WorstTurttle. Prime did drop his ultimate too in response, but it was just too late by that point.
Used it for CC immunity just to be sure that he wasn't going to get jumped on. Breez just a little bit too separated. Has been really comfortable taking a lot of poke damage. Probably needs to be a little bit more concerned with his health bar if he wants to be an initiator in these team fights. But going back to this Chernobog matchup, I think that we've seen a lot more pressure onto Chekio now with FrostiaK in tow. That's the beads for Chekio. I think we've seen a lot of Oloruns kind of get through the laning phase.
Yeah, FrostiaK wants to try and catch him in between the Tier 1 and Tier 2, and he's correct. That is it for Chekio.
Spudio gets that one, just assuming there's no way they wait for him between Tier 1 and Tier 2 here, right? Unfortunately, for Chekio, wrong, and this is what you should be doing to Olorun. Don't give him the free laning phase.
Let's see if they can successfully strip away this purple Frosty. Gets pinned against the wall, takes way too much damage. Spudio does hit a good crystallized curse, and in comes Breez to follow up. The last breath should be enough on Dracomarino there as well. What a fight there from Outcold to turn around a pretty tough spot.
That was beautiful from Breez. The double Cobra's kiss in that spot. Really, really impressive. Warchi going to try and defend the red buff, but takes half his health for his troubles. Breez, no Talaria, no tank boots. Instead, going straight for the damage Warrior Tabai, and it pays off.
Didn't someone suggest buffing tier heal or something like that? Yeah, not the bluff.
No, I don't think so. As Dimi almost actually got soloed. Julio, really good job pushing him into the tower, and then minions doing some help in providing a body block.
Yet again, some action around this blue buff. It's actually not even up, so this is a bit early. WorstTurttle must be here just for straight up fight. And Julio commits the Lawbringer. They must have really thought that Fear No Evil was going to be able to come through, but WorstTurttle couldn't find it.
No blink up for WorstTurttle, so he couldn't close the gap. Was hoping that he'd be able to catch Breez with it, and then Julio could start the CC chain and likely end it with that extra bit of damage. Julio will miss that ultimate, but might not be the end of the world.
Agreed. It's not going to be that big of a deal, I imagine. So far, this game has been fairly back and forth. We saw some aggression around Chekio in particular, trying to bully him. FrostiaK spent a lot of time over there, but it ends up backfiring a bit. Queso, or rather Outcold, able to turn that around and then start looking for some good fights up there near that top side of the map. But here's WorstTurttle back for Dimi with no help with that ultimate, and they pin him against the wall.
Dimi locked in that animation. That's exactly where you don't want to be, in that Blade Storm as soon as WorstTurttle comes in. If you initiate with that blink as Dimi's just walking away or not using an ability, then he can use Excalibur's Wrath, take you or Julio up out of a combat, and negate the entire Fear No Evil, but perfect timing by WorstTurtle at exploiting that animation window. We see it with a couple characters. Batz certainly one of them, where as soon as you see that overhand smash, you know that you're free to use some CC or something along the lines to interrupt him and put him in a bad spot. I don't think we see it enough, though.
Warchi now in some trouble. He has Serqet right on top of him. Deathbane there, and Breez has brought him low, but I don't know if this is enough for the kill by itself. Warchi should be able to make it out because Frosty can't get to him. A very important survive there.
Prime ends up not using that ultimate. Little surprised, I would say. As soon as he gets around that wall, uses the flourish. I expected it to come out, but you already got the Purification Beads. You already forced Warchi back to base. You'll be able to kill him with that ultimate very soon. May as well take the guaranteed kill in a little bit than risk missing, I suppose, is the thought process.
Perhaps so there for Prime. Either way, he keeps his gun holstered in that scenario. And Warchi is able to ride off into the sunset. He will have to be careful, though, as you said, another 120 seconds before he'll have those beads back up. And for Ullr, that's such a big deal as opposed to some of these other hunters with CC immunity in their kit. And because it takes him so long to get into the axe stance sometime for the leap away, he's had to be careful, as Dimi could need some backup here as well, but I don't think it's going to be coming. WorstTurttle can't quite get the overhand smash, and Dimi, not only has he survived, there's turnaround potential.
Breez here, but no ultimate for him. Chekio actually going to go or I'll be on the receiving end rather, of Spudio's ultimate on the left-hand side. Does not join that fray on the right. WorstTurttle, little bit greedy, I'd say. We're holding on to that ultimate.
Nice axe.
Hail of arrows, not up in time. Thought it was coming.
Fear no evil, though. Does a good job stopping Breez, who might be able to find a kill. Prime does make sure the tier 1 tower is well guarded, but unfortunately can't hit it for damage. Everyone makes it back out.
Almost with a sick ultimate from Prime, but good peel from Breez. Breez has certainly made the impact of the Serqet support. That was one of the keys to the game, I thought, but he's really fit it in nicely. 2-1 on this pick. He's doing well in the net worth charts. He's up about 400 gold on Dracomarino right now. Has really been all over the map and is only going to get even tankier pretty soon once he finishes those thieves.
He's been active, man. That's exactly what you want from your Serqet, to be able to pick those spots and walk the tightrope, and Breez has done it. I mean, I've said it before that I think Breez was a really big addition for this Outcold team. That was one of their big issues, I think, was finding a consistent support. And they still do have some issues, it feels like, late game with making sure the decision-making is where it needs to be. But they did close up one of their gaps, and Breez has gotten better, I feel like, every week.
That's been a key for this team, and if they're in a good position to make it to LAN all of a sudden, Finch.
Yeah,
I
with
mean,
that loss earlier today.
Flashpoint's loss earlier today, and Outcold sitting in 3rd place right now. This is a key game for this squad. Queso, the door isn't closed on them. Horizon Union, I think, might be mathematically eliminated, but they are one of the toughest opponents in the league right now in my mind. This is a very competitive region. Simplicity, the only team that should feel comfortable with where they are.
I would agree that all these matches here, they matter so much at this point, and I think there might be a little bit of that extra pressure here for Outcold. I mean, this is a team that came into not just this phase, but this split with really big expectations. I mean, we thought they'd have a few more names on their roster than what they got, but even still, Prime and Dimi, you have really high expectations for them. Spudio and Frosty have played at a high level before too, so they've struggled and not lived up to that hype, and now they have a chance at the end of the year to maybe turn things around.
That'd be a crazy story, man. I mean,
Huge.
It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, though, right? That they would be in a position like this. If you would have told me at the very beginning of the year that, hey, Dimi, FrostiaK, PrettyPriMe are going to go to LAN and have a chance to go to Worlds, I'd say, duh. Of course they are. They probably went undefeated, and it's really been anything but. But maybe that's better for this squad. You know, going through this adversity, understanding how, you know, forcing themselves to improve as the year goes on instead of staying stagnant and just understanding they're the best of the best and no one can really touch them. This could create an Outcold squad that's ready to compete with the bottom end of the SPL and potentially make a run come that LAN. I think that I would be incredibly excited to watch this team come to LAN, and really any of the EU SML teams really excite me with their potential at placement week, but Outcold maybe more than any other.
I know there's going to be some strong SPL teams at the bottom when they do make that placement week, but it's not. These minor league teams are really, really good too. You're right. There's a ton of good ones here in the EU SML. NASML has been shaken up a bit. Hype Unit looked great. Obviously, Armada is full of a ton of talent on that side as well. So that placement week's going to be brutal, man. I would block out some time if I was y'all. Make sure you're able to watch those sets. It's going to be a lot more good ones, I think, than you might be expecting. Especially
after the midseason invitational where, you know, Hype Unit on console made a lot of noise. I'm excited to see how they perform, as they will certainly be coming. It's going to be a blast, man. It is the best time of year. It's HRX qualifying time right next to the SMITE World Championships. Really the beginning of SMITE Worlds, the best.
Breez, though, not having the best time right now. He gets pulled by Julio right back into the Fear No Evil. Spudio has used the ultimate, but it doesn't look as though he's going to be coming in. He's already landed back on that left-hand side, so not going to be much more support there. In fact, Dimi has to be careful, is able to start disengaging.
WorstTurtle's been really, really patient with these ultimates and found really good ones pretty consistently throughout this game, as Spudio really chunks down Chekio.
Yeah.
Chekio with ultimate and relics. Shouldn't be any way that Spudio's able to get a solo kill here, especially with Dracomarino in tow.
Oh, Dracomarino is waiting. They even have... Oh, there's a sentry ward here, though. It's about to fade off, but Spudio has this information at this point, so Draco is not going to be able to find much here unless Spudio is real confident in his 2v1 ability. But looks like that won't be the case. He'll fall back. But now that the ward is dropped, maybe he won't be expecting it. No, it's a Gold Fury look for Team Queso, and Spudio is checking it. He knew Draco was on this side of the map, so he'll come nearby. Fortunately, though, Team Queso, they're not actually looking for it.
Warchi has to use the purification beads. Breez still wants it. but Dracomarino actually eats the Persephone ultimate that was hunting for Warchi. Couple ultimates on each side, but Purification beads for Warchi right before Gold Fury fights big.
Well, he wouldn't have been able to hit him, right? Because Persephone's ultimate does have a range. Like that would it would have been too far.
Yep, that's correct. Persephone ultimate does have a range.
Okay.
The range is the first thing it hits.
Oh, that's not quite the same as the range, I don't think.
Well, in some ways it is. You know, like Giannis ultimate doesn't have a range. It goes through everything.
Right.
The Persephone range is the
It will
first
stop
god or
eventually.
wall it hits. That's
It will
right.
stop eventually. Good. That gives me no comfort, I guess. But you're right. It can't just go through.
Hide
stuff.
behind the wall. Do the Scooby-Doo, like, snap up against the wall behind it.
FrostiaK gets some trouble. This is perhaps the least patient ultimate we've seen from WorstTurttle all game, but he might have had to do that to not get manhandled there by Frosty. And there's still several members of Outcold here. Spudio on his way. They certainly do want this fight. They do lock down Dracomarino with the Brute. Oh, the ultimate for Frosty a bit too late, and Draco makes it out.
That's tough. Breez finds the ultimate onto Julio, but there's a full health tier with a Lawbringer ultimate. Oh, is that going to help them get this kill? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was Persephone ult, by the way.
It's good.
Doesn't need to hit Julio in that instance. Hits the wall next to him and him kind of simultaneously, for what it's worth.
Chekio taking the boxing match with Spudio. That is the Sanctified Field on cooldown, but I like this from Queso. A lot of ultimates were used by Outcold, and by a lot, I mean all of them, which means Queso has the advantage here in the Gold Fury. It doesn't even matter. Outcold don't make it into the picture in time, but Frosty won't let them leave for free. That's the beads from him, but Draco goes right into the watery grave. Queso have taken the Fury and escaped.
Not too bad for Team Queso. That's certainly a win for them. They get the objective, only losing Julio, and that gives them the first lead-ish, it feels like. I mean, there was a slight lead around 5 minutes or so for Outcold, but this game's still really even. It isn't a lead whatsoever. The more that Outcold spreads out and gets the farm that they had lost out on a little bit by going into contest. This one is knotted up. You're really looking at how much these junglers can do in these team fights because they are pretty well farmed. This is pretty different than what we see in the SPL these days, where supports and mids are the same level alongside junglers, usually about a level ahead, and then soul laners and ADCs are way ahead. Not really the case here. FrostiaK's got a 3-level deficit to Chekio, which is a problem, but WorstTurtle's only a level down to Spudio. That's a pretty good spot to be.
It's impressive because they've been active, these two junglers, I would say, so that they've been able to also maintain such high levels of farm really shows how well they've been able to maximize the map. And there haven't been a ton of invades this game either. I think that is probably a big part of why. A lot of the times, one team just has so much more farm because they're constantly stripping blues and reds in such a way.
Both junglers have been able to be on the defensive for their buffs pretty consistently. Neither mid laner has gotten a ton more pressure than the other. Say Prime has been able to exert a little bit more pressure. I mean, Warchi, despite the 1-0-2 slash line, pretty far down in the player damage in comparison, but Persephone gets a lot of that, it turns out.
So Queso's just decided it's time. They've got all 5 members here, and they do secure the Pyromancer, but there will be a fight on the back end. WorstTurtle's already left.
Yeah.
In comes the Persephone ult, right in the center of everything. That's perfect for Prime, but it's still Dimi who's in trouble. Chekio's Sanctified Field might have been even better, but a 2-man tectonic shift comes through for FrostiaK. That's what you like to see. A triple kill for Spuddy. Hello.
Watch out! He's got another one lined up, but Warchi is just able to jump away in time. Julio might still be the quadra for Spudio if he can land the autos.
A little too late now.
Unlucky.
We saw it all there right before you, Spudio. Got to hit the ones that are right there. Warchi has a chance to do some damage on his way out, but he has got to disengage. The only good news, I would say, for Queso is that Outcold do have some pretty low health bars. I don't know if they can stick around here and do FG. And Warchi, he's on the wrong side of the map.
PrettyPriMe should be able to close this gap, but not a whole lot of mana for him. FrostiaK's going to try and cut him off. But man, that ultimate was absolutely insane from PrettyPriMe. The only thing that can stop a Persephone ultimate that nuts is apparently an equally nuts Sanctified Field.
Yeah.
That you can see where the ultimates just one-upping one another, what it takes these days, man. Because that Sanctified Field, if that doesn't happen, Queso get just obliterated by Outcold. Prime hit 4, maybe even 5 targets with that ult, but no one could surge forward because Sanctified Field was laid down.
I mean, they had 2 really good ultimates. The ultimate from Frosty was
true.
nuts too as well, and that's how much Sanctified Field can do when it's perfect. And I think that it has the highest variance of just about any ability in the game because it has to be perfect. I feel like to get maximum value out of it. And that time Chekio had it, everyone was lined up in that choke point. He rolled out the carpet, man, and slowed everything down.
Craziness, man. These new gods just adding insane things left and right, it feels like, to the game. Wait till you guys see Yamoja.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was just recently revealed a lot of cool stuff there available for her. I've seen some speculation out there, but I think that there's certainly still going to be some surprises. As here in this match, I'm not surprised how close this has been. Queso started Phase 2 really hot, but have kind of cooled down a bit.
Yep.
And I would say Outcold are on the opposite trajectory. Still took some time to get going, but have been trending a bit up. So no surprise they're meeting sort of in the middle here, I'd say, in what's been a very close match so far.
You could expect to see fireworks with the Queso squad, basically no matter what. This is a team that you never know what you're going to get. You can get really good play out of them where they have great performances, they work really well as a unit, they're difficult to pick and ban against because they'll play anything anywhere, and then they'll have games where it just feels like they never woke up, they never showed up and got out of bed. Inconsistency has definitely been a big problem for this team so far this phase, but when they're playing well, they play as well as anyone in the entire league.
They do have a bit of a high variance style, though. This is one of the more normal compositions you'll see from Team Queso. So normally it gets weirder from here.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why there can sometimes be some variance with it. Sometimes it catches other people off guard. Sometimes they're correct in something strength level. And sometimes, you know, when you innovate, it doesn't always end up panning out. So I would rather be on the team that's trying to figure stuff out. I'll never give Queso a hard time, I don't think, for most of what they do.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think I can give them a hard time every once in a while, you know? Just from time to time, I think I could
Sure.
see it. But this game, nothing too weird from them. And the
Agreed.
Persephone pick that they let through from PrettyPriMe has certainly been very impactful. It hasn't lost Queso the game yet.
It has not been oppressive, but I don't think this is necessarily where Persephone is oppressive. I mean, technically she hasn't passived yet, right? This
Yeah,
game,
not even once.
And that's where, as long as there's a 0 in the death column, that's part of where a lot of her value comes from, as Warchi has to use the beads early on. Another problem with Ullr is it doesn't take much to force the hands on beads.
And Breez, for one blink, just got beads and ultimate from 2 different members of Queso. That's going to be enough to let Outcold pull this Gold Fury. WorstTurttle can't even blink in.
But they are going to try and start the fight anyway. WorstTurttle has used the Fear No Evil, but Outcold already got the Oni. Look how low Chekio is. If it wasn't for that
Another sick
Sanctified
ult.
Field, he'd already be dead. But he was still able to buy himself a little bit of time. But Spudio not going to let him escape for free. Dracomarino now low as well. But man, just to worm his way back underneath the tower. Spudio makes into the wall as well. But where does he go from here? Warchi had the read. No way! Straight up and down the second he came out.
That was sick. Another sick Fearless coming from Julio. We'll get the beads out from PrettyPriMe and the leap away. What looked like it was going to be a nuts fight for Outcold is not going well now.
No, it isn't. It's turned around. I think they might have pushed a little bit too far. Breez is coming in to try and change the texture of this one. Warchi hit by the Cobra's Kiss. FrostiaK here as well. Maybe low HP, but not low on damage. Prime get to Warchi, but Julio finds some blood of his own. It really is a bloodbath as a WorstTurttle comes crashing back down to earth.
And Prime just jumping around this team fight in and out with that flourish. Has to use Aegis, but still has it. And Flourish should be up soon, but Julio's still hunting.
Julio is going to try and catch up. That'll be the damage Dracomarino needs. But a good
Sick
stun
stun
from Dimi. That should buy just enough time for Prime to make it out.
Man, what a team fight back and forth. I mean,
Yeah.
Another great ultimate from FrostiaK starts the fight off beautifully for Outcold. A Fear No Evil that's only used defensively from WorstTurtle. You're feeling like Outcold's going to run away with that fight pretty easily. But Prime just not quite patient enough on that ultimate. He needed to step a couple steps to the right and fire that ult down the corridor to hit everyone that was grouped up. It did vine onto Julio so that he was crippled so that he couldn't pull FrostiaK back in. But instead of he saves FrostiaK potentially, but ultimately leaves 2 kills on the table, which forces Outcold to chase real deep underneath the enemy tier 2. Julio, stop me if you heard this one before, is really good at tier and finds multiple really good Fearlesses. That team fight in Outcold, what looked great, still good. I mean, they got the Fury. They turn out pretty well in the fight. Still, takes a long time, gets a little bit too even, and now don't have as big of a lead as it looked like they may.
Instead, this game remains close here, Ryan. And check this out. This is a really different build path from Chekio than what we normally see. Lotus Crown to round it out, and then Stone of Fall, I think is where he is at the very end of this build as well. So yeah, that's absolutely right. This is the one that gives you a little bit more power than protection and makes you don't take nearly as much upfront damage.
Good against Cabrakan. Very good against Cabrakan, because his 1 or 2 will do about 25 to 30% of your health, and that is pretty good. I feel like Stone of Fall, so Stone of Fall has gone through a million different iterations at this point, right? It feels like it's gotten changed a whole bunch of times. It used to be really, really good against heavy burst characters. Habwa, Scylla, Giannis, these gods that really relied on 2 or 3 shotting you throughout their entire kit. But this current iteration feels like it's going to be better against gods like Cabrakan, where they're hitting you for about 25%. You want to get it over that 20% health threshold, and then you want it to be just a little bit over, I think, because then you're still taking less damage than you would to get 2-shot. It's a really weird sort of math equation where if it's over 20%, it gets reduced by 10%, but you don't want to get hit for 50% because then you're still losing 40%. It's weird. You want to be right over that 20% threshold, and Cabrakan's the perfect god for it.
Demi in some trouble. He gets the Fear No Evil used solely on him. Maybe not a bad trade at all. Julio blinks in, only finds Spudio with that Fearless. Meanwhile, FrostiaK has to deal with the Sanctified Field. Gets away from the Olorun damage, but not the axe. And Warchi has been on fire here on this Ullr so far. In goes WorstTurttle towards the back line. He wants Prime, but a good shell keeps everyone alive for now.
Spudio gonna use his ultimate just to slow everybody down, get his cooldowns back. Dimi finds Dracomarino. Dimi still wants to brawl, but the rest of Outcold's on the run.
I feel like someone's got to make sure they get to Warchi. When he's allowed to free cast back there, it's such a much more difficult fight for Outcold. They're now fully on the retreat, and Queso may not be the healthiest you've ever seen, but they've got all 5 members. They can push.
Prime just doesn't have enough penetration in the build right now to deal with these frontliners. It's Julio and it's Dracomarino who are right on top of him, but he just can't deal the damage. Needs Obsidian Shard.
And in these skirmishy fights, Prime's damage is going to be weaker than pre-planned ones. As Breez blinks in, Fire Giant low, and Queso successfully grabbed the objective. WorstTurttle hunts down Prime, but remember, Prime can still put some damage out even in this dead state. There's the ultimate, and that's enough to take down WorstTurtle. Julio jumps into it as well.
Julio still is able to get out for at least a minute in Watery Grave, disrupts Spudio's dash. Long enough. Beads will not be enough for him. Queso even it up at 11 in the kills, but the game feels like it's solidly in their favor.
It is starting to swing that way, and I think that I was trying to allude to it, so let me know if I'm on base here, man. But when Persephone, as Breez falls, has to do those long fights that start in the jungle, but then coming down the wave, she's just not going to have plants over there. It's going to be a lot less consistent damage from her.
100%. Now that's where Flourish is so important and why it needs to have a low cooldown, because you need to have the ability to instantly upgrade your next plant like you have with Flourish, or instantly pop blood and get the next one ready. That's why it's such a key ability for her. Prime still did good damage in that team fight, but without the Obsidian Shard and without the consistent burst damage, you just don't have enough to bring down a character like Tyr, even with help from Breez with that last breath. Feels like these ultimates from PrettyPriMe just aren't getting enough value. He used it very early on that right-hand side, hit Dracomarino with it, but then Watery Grave gets him out of it right away. I'd like to see Prime try and use those a little bit differently in the upcoming team fights. Try and get them around these frontliners, use it exclusively to cripple Julio out after he's used his ultimate, or try and snipe out a backliner because he's got so much damage, just no Obsidian Shard. It's difficult to end up killing these tanks, especially when they are both level 20. That's right, both. Dracomarino level 20 already.
That's crazy.
And Prime only level 18.
That's nuts, man, how well Dracomarino's been able to farm this game too, the entirety of Team Queso. But the reason why I feel like Prime's damage is so important this time is because Chekio is not going to be doing, I feel like, quite as much as you might expect from this Olorun with this build path. There's not a ton of direct pen. It's really based on his basic attacks, and Warchi has done enough damage, it's felt like, to make up for it. He's been a monster in these fights. If they can get to Warchi, especially with the build path that Chekio's going, then I think they can slow down this Queso team.
It's difficult because look at the player damage numbers. I mean, Queso's grouped up. Everyone is doing about the same amount, and so there's not one guy where you go, okay, as long as we kill Warchi, as long as we kill WorstTurttle, as long as we kill Chekio, Dracomarino's outputting more damage than anybody except Julio.
That's Kuzenbo, baby.
So you know that you have to take down everybody right now. And FrostiaK's build, entirely based around killing the backline, can't really help out too much on that front line.
Dracomarino steps forward yet again. He said this is where Kuzenbo can struggle to initiate, so Frosty does on the side of Outcold. Phoenix has already gone down, Sanctified Field, right in the thick of it, but there's the ultimate from Prime, from downtown, and Dracomarino finally removed.
Dimi doing what he can. Spudio gonna join the fray. It's a quick double kill for him, and he's looking for 3.
That's a triple kill now for Spudio. Make that one a quadra kill, full on deicide for Outcold Gaming. Get out of our house, Queso. That's how you kick down the door.
And it's all about that ultimate from Prime, exactly what we needed to see from him. Bypass the front line, hit the back line. Why not hit both at all the same time?
Sure.
Ends up hitting everyone with that ultimate. Dimi's doing such a good job of keeping aggro from Queso. Everyone's looking at him. And Spudio, his patience on that ultimate, waits until all the cooldowns are expended, everyone's half health, and then comes in and wipes the team.
That's such a huge fight here for Outcold. We're still 13 seconds from Dracomarino coming up. They're a bit slow on this Phoenix push. Titan's Bane doesn't give much for Pen. Aussie does, and they don't have a minion wave with them for this entire time. So I don't know if they're going to commit to trying to take the actual Titan down. In fact, Frosty leaving, Dimi not here. They're just going to settle for the Phoenix off the back of that.
It's the right call. If you lose on that Titan push, then you've lost the entire game. As it stands, now the game is back to even. It's not necessarily in your favor if you're Outcold, but it's not in Queso's favor either. Both of you have fire waves. Queso has the better fire wave as it's further away from that fire giant, but still now both teams right on the edge of winning the game.
It's so crazy though, man. That fight from Outcold, especially Frosty getting that fight started. And that was into what I would have called a pretty good sanctified field from Chekio in that fight too. So that just goes to show that you can overcome that ultimate if everything else lines up for them. But Queso have to do a bit of a better job if they find themselves sieging again, to not be so susceptible to that big ult from Prime.
You just know that Outcold is so, they have so much experience. You can tell by the front line alone between Dimi, Breez, and FrostiaK. They bait and switch really, really well in that team fight. First, it's FrostiaK that goes in, gets a bunch of cooldowns, backs it up right away. Then it's Breez, goes in on top of the Sanctified Field, make sure that he's a prime target that everyone on Queso wants to hit and wants to look at, and then he rotates out of the fight. Then Dimi's the one, and by the time Dimi's in there, most of the cooldowns are gone, and so he's able to really keep their attention for a longer period of time. But that juggling of aggro by frontliner is something that's really difficult to communicate. You can't really be, say, in the middle of the fight, hey, I'll go in now, I'm out, you're in, I'm out, you're in. You're not tagging necessarily. It's just game sense. It's playing with your frontliners, understanding how your supports and your junglers and your solos want to play, and Outcold really putting that on display in that fight.
Spudio will be the one defending the left side wave. The Living Nightmare obviously means he can join the fight at any time. Fire Giant has been pulled, but I don't know how hard committed Queso are here on this one. They don't have a Frenzy either that's been all the range here lately. Neither team does. So these fights around the FG might require a few picks. And Spudio, as long as they don't commit, he's got time to do this.
Yep, Spudio could keep on going. He can 1v1 anybody on Queso right now, except maybe Dracomarino. But other than that, he's very free to end up pushing.
Draco has pushed up now that we're back here on the right-hand side. Remember, Queso were doing a kind of a sneaky trap play for a bit. They were waiting. I think that they are super confident in pulling the FG and fighting on it right now. This game is so even that I think that they're correct. And now might be the time for Outcold to start stepping forward, because Spudio's right at the Phoenix. Maybe they could stop these backs. They won't stop Chekio. He'll be there to try and slow down Spudio. But this is already too much damage. It's below half. He should be able to actually get this Phoenix. Chekio can't do enough. And now Spudio can just go join the fight.
FrostiaK's already been forced back, but Spudio gonna rejoin. Julio tossed back, but a huge mantle stun actually ends up hurting Outcold.
Well, Breez wants to keep going, but that wall from Frosty, not particularly good at all. He must have wanted to blink it. Get the blink off. That does slow down their push. They don't get the tier 2 tower, but they need to take a breath and regroup. That's a good fight for them, but they can't afford to lose more here.
Breez gonna jump in just to give Dimi the shell, but both Dimi and Breez in a ton of trouble. PrettyPriMe not in a great spot either. Now Queso, just by health bars alone, have a great opportunity to pull the fire.
Agreed. They are indeed going to let WorstTurttle do more than push out. Good flourish from Prime, but it's not enough. WorstTurttle able to use the leap to get in there and finish the kill. Julio blinks over, and he's found Breez, but this Serqet is decently tanky. But Dracomarino and Julio should have him now isolated from any backup, and Chekio gets that much needed kill. Outcold lose 2.
Man, that's such a bad fight from Outcold. You do everything right. You do everything really well. Then Prime's ultimate, again, you have to wait until that CC immunity is gone from these frontliners. Julio has the ultimate available. They try and CC chain him, but it doesn't work, and Breez actually ends up hurting more than helping by guaranteeing a big stun.
Well, Dimi has now moved in, and suddenly Warchi, who's low, stuck on the fire ring, is in trouble. He's not even going to contest the objective anymore. It's about finding the kill. Queso grabbed the FG, and Dimi takes it off of Warchi, a priority target. Fear No Evil comes out from WorstTurttle, but he's going to end up dying there to FrostiaK no matter what.
Dimi has that Excalibur's Wrath, but a big ultimate from Chekio forces him back.
But a 2-man stun from Dimi is the response. FrostiaK with a double kill drops the tectonic shift, and Spudio right there to respond. Julio falls as well. This game is like a tennis match. It's back and forth between these two squads.
Dimi is so nuts, man.
Isn't he good?
So many
Still.
6 Sundering strikes that actually end up getting stuns, not those big Excalibur's Wrath, but using that little energy ultimate to really get the job done. He has played so well this game. He just won Outcold the game.
And it can be a slow ability sometimes. It's not always that easy to get those big ultimates off, but Dimi gets it done. Dracomarino, the only defense. Spudio's low, and Draco is keeping him away from actually doing damage. Titans at half HP, and
no,
Spudio
bro.
ends up dying. He's been shut down.
They can't
now.
end.
Dracomarino has pushed FrostiaK back out as well, and I think that Dracomarino might have done enough to keep this one alive. Prime is here as well, but Warchi has just respawned. Queso, keep the game alive.
God, dude. You can... Spudio, he dashes forward, and while the rest of the team's finishing off the Phoenix, he separates himself from his frontliners. Dracomarino, he gives him an easy job of putting himself in between him and the Titan. That is brutally bad. Spudio has made so many good plays, a triple kill for him, a quadra kill for him, but that one is a really bad mistake to make.
And Outcold, after what has been such a close match, have a decent chance to close this game out and just can't get it done. That's going to hurt, man, if this game ends up stretching on any longer. And honestly, it could very well. No team really has a substantial advantage. The only Fire Giant buffs on Dracomarino of all people, and both teams have gotten a Phoenix down 2 in favor of Outcold, so they do have the edge there, but this is still very much even.
I think Queso is actually in the lead now as soon as they get these Phoenixes up, because they have characters that can sell their boots much more quickly. Already Warchi and Chekio have sold their boots for 6th items and gotten elixirs of speed. So has Spudio, and that's a big deal. But Prime, I mean, what is he going here? Rod, you need 4,000 plus gold in order to get that done. Why not just go for a 3K pot? While all of that sort of deliberation is happening for Prime, Warchi and Chekio can just buy 3K pots as soon as they get the gold and not have to worry about it. This is not looking good, I don't think, for Outcold, unless they can make a siege happen right here.
Looks as if they're considering. They have a wave pushed up to the right side. And Team Queso, surprisingly, are not going to come out to defend. This tier 2 belongs to the Order side team. The left side Phoenix is quite low. Maybe that's part of why they're not pushing. Julio has to be there to push that wave out as Warchi hits another good axe on Breez.
It's a lot of damage Breez just took without a whole lot of time under threat. Look at that fire wave pushing on the left-hand side. That's why Outcold is here, despite not having Fire Giant, trying to leverage that big wave on the left.
Dimi trying to split the focus here of Team Queso, and he's done it well. There's 3 members here on this side. WorstTurttle has to go make sure Phoenix and left survives as well. So Outcold should have a pretty decent fight here on this right side. Phoenix, all relics available for everyone, so safety, while not guaranteed, certainly is an option here. As Blink in from Frosty goes right for Chekio. Dracomarino blinks in as well, but Prime has used the ultimate already to guarantee Chekio is pushed into the grave. Dracomarino still low here on the front line and no damage onto the Phoenix, but look at FrostiaK's positioning. I don't think they expected him way in the back, and Dracomarino falls for a double. Spudio finds Julio as well.
Now it's going to be looking good for Outcold Gaming. Prime's very low, though. Spudio still plenty healthy. Another multi-kill for Spudio.
Man.
And Prime's Ghost can walk in and help him in.
What is Spudio have to do, it seems like sometimes, right, to close one of these games out. Well, he finally ends up doing it out cold in front of Team Queso in what was not an easy game by any means.
No.
This is going to be a big set.
It really is. 14 kills for Spudio on that Chernobog, man. He played so well, except for the part where they almost didn't end the game because of it, but we can overlook that. If you get 2 triples and a quadra, you get to have that little mistake and have it be forgiven.
I think so too, man. This is such an important set for Outcold, remember,
Yeah.
because Flashpoint lost earlier. Outcold are more in the race than we might have thought. They need this win. Maybe the Desk, though, has some ideas. Let's hear them break it down.
Well, I tell you what, Finch and Ryan, I'll be honest, 2 triples and a quadra kill for one young man. They're well on the way, Outcold Gaming. Totally good performance there from the boys.
I definitely agree with you. Breez on this early game Serqet support really opened the door early for them on the likes of OCG, but then there started to be a slight comeback there. Queso got the Fire Giant at 26 minutes, but then their sieging was a little unsuccessful because of Spudio's mechanics.
Spudio, he is a stud. Right after that game, that's for sure. 2 triple kills and a quadra. We're going to take a look back at some of these kills then and see how it all worked out. I love the fact that he's just outside of the field the whole time. That sanctified field, just staying at max distance. I think he juggled aggro really well in the laning phase against that too.
He really did. I think the backline from not only Spudio but Persephone on PrettyPriMe made a huge impact. This defense and hold was crucial to keep OCG in the game.
Completely agree, and that was against that Fire Giant that you were talking about around the 26-minute mark that Queso got. The Phoenix does fall down here, but the turnaround play is amazing.
Avoiding the Fearless with a living nightmare, come back in using the reset on the cooldowns, barely kills WorstTurttle before the jump, gets the quadra onto Julio. His pentakill was stolen by the ultimate out of Persephone earlier on, and then even split pushing on the left side, utilizing that attack speed from the Chernobog, rotating to the right side of the map with a living nightmare. FrostiaK having a pretty good game as well.
Yeah, the Cabrakan plays from Frosty's always been something that he's gone back to in the jungle. Very good at those Guardian supportive gods to set up and actually just burst characters down too. I will say, the more and more we see Chernobog, Anatoly, the more and more I feel like he's one of the most winningest gods in terms of triple, quadras, and almost pentakills.
That's right.
Like, I've seen the most recent is always triples and quadras with this character.
Can never forget Arkell's pentakill there at Worlds, up against Space Station Gaming, I believe it was, and that is a huge way to get an advantage, just utilizing that living nightmare. Spudio doing a good job showing that off. Almost a top player damage if it were not for Dimi, but with his record of 14, 3, and 6 slash line this game, he was a part of 80% of his team's 25 kills.
I think the GPM is the most interesting thing. They're 612 on the
Very
GPM.
impressive.
Over 600 on GPM is not an easy task to get to, especially at how long that game went to.
Normally when you're winning and in an advantageous position, it's like 550 or higher.
Yeah, around 5 in the mid 500s
Yeah.
is like max level.
And to see 600, that means there's a lot of kills going his way, very few deaths, and his slash line 14, 3, and 6 doesn't surprise me with 612 GPM.
So what went wrong for Queso in the game? Where do you think their focus needs to be? Is it against this Chernobog they want to ban away? Should they give them Persephone again? What do you think?
I think they were too clumped up for all the AoE damage from Persephone during that Phoenix Siege. Julio and the tier tried to make the dive potential, but instead of going on to Spudio, maybe focus out PrettyPriMe on the Persephone. If you're going to give up that pick, you got to respect all the AoE damage and the control that she has, and I don't think that Queso gave that respect.
That's true. Let's get into picks and bans then for game number 2 and see if Queso can answer back here. They're going to be first pick, which definitely changes things up this time round. Outcold may have to give up Persephone if they don't choose to ban it. Queso are going to ban it themselves. It's always a worrying sign, that, right? When you don't, you leave it up, you don't pick it for yourself, you're scared of playing it yourself, so you ban it.
Definitely feels that Queso haven't prepared properly with that Persephone, whether or not they're going to ban it or play it themselves. Unfortunate to see, but I think that they're setting themselves up for other picks now with Thor still open. Thor wasn't actually even picked. It was banned away in the secondary phase.
Yeah, very late on in that. I will say with the Persephone thing, though, if they would have just banned it in game 1, nobody would have known that they'd not prepared the god, so to speak, or they'd not practiced it enough to be comfortable with it. Otherwise, if they banned it that game and this game, everyone would have been like, yeah, Persephone, it gets banned all the time, it's too good.
And surprised to see even the Cabrakan ban. FrostiaK doing a good job controlling a lot of space. And with that ban, it leads me to believe that Queso want immobile gods. Gods that can't necessarily get away from that tectonic shift. Maybe some healers.
With the set now off the table, it's over to Queso. Amaterasu, we already mentioned, has been banned. Geb first pick. Interesting enough, Outcold Gaming did ban Geb Capri in their first phase, so this time they're going to let the Geb through, still ban the Capri, however.
Yeah, Dracomarino doing a good job on defensive supports, respecting it, but giving up the global pressure for the Geb. A little surprising seeing how they go for that option. I think that we could have seen more pressure from Queso if they had it instead.
Completely agree. King Arthur for Dimi, though, once more, back in that solo lane with that. No real surprises there. And the Thor in the jungle for FrostiaK. FrostiaK is definitely like someone that's been around on Thor for a very long time. As Queso not going to pick up that tier.
Yeah, Julio really loves this pick, you can tell, and it's a good beads burner, right? Like, Tier can go in, Geb with the Cataclysm as well, you mix and match. As long as Geb can get off a really good Blink Cataclysm and then go back to his own backline for the peels, that's all that's required for him, and then Julio can clean up afterwards.
Well, this time around, Queso was going to go with the Chronos. We saw an Olorun last game, but they won't get hold of it this time round. Instead, they're going to give it over towards Outcold Gaming, and that's probably going to Spudio here. It's not Chernobog, though, is it? Come on.
No, it's definitely not the Chernobog this time around. But honestly, you never really know. With Olorun locked in, if that's going to be for PrettyPriMe or for Spudio, probably will go in the long lane. More often than not, it has been, unless you're Team Dignitas at Raxia playing it in the mid lane from time to time, because Heroin likes to play the Sets, the Susanos, the Assassin styles. But I don't really see that coming through from Spudio. He's more of like your mage/hunter player.
That's true, and I love the Chiron ban from Queso there, actually. Just that CC immune ability to actually just, well, cleanse, I should say, not CC immune, but the cleanse have been very effective against someone like Tyr with those fearlesses. If you can cleanse underneath a teammate at that moment, not only are you doing damage to the enemy god, you're going to break that fearless chain. So a bit of an option there taken away from Outcold Gaming. They're going to go with a Sobek, though, which we don't see too much from the support roles these days. He flitters into competitive every now and again, but not all the time.
More old school style, but still a great way to displace your opponents in your favor, especially when you have Thor setting you up with a good tectonic rift from a distance.
Oh, yeah.
King Arthur is going to be looking for a poke, but now drafting the Cupid and the Serqet, this could be an idea to really isolate the Sobek with the Cobra's Kiss into Last Breath. There's a lot of burst potential to keep this Sobek in bay.
I'm a little bit worried about Olorun against Cupid. Cupid's very, very good at a 1v1 fight for the most part and takes out some big targets. Olorun's lack of mobility here in the Fields of Love, you're going to have a bad time.
It might be Cupid middle, actually, now that I think about it. Chronos might go in the long lane if you can get the levels onto the Chronos. I would rather have it on Chronos than the Cupid. More teamfight potential with the Fields of Love, so stick it in mid.
That's true. We'll find out then if the Cupid's going to be mid lane. I think Tolly might be right. Can Queso answer back? I asked that of the casters.
I think they certainly can. There were plenty of answers from him in game one, just not quite enough as Outcold grabbed that first victory. It is going to be Warchi taking this Cupid into the middle lane with Chronos for Chekio long. I agree with Tolly. Cupid probably does do well into this Olorun, but you want all that farm on your Chronos.
You really do. It's where you want to put it. Definitely not on the Cupid necessarily. So I'm excited to see how well Prime can do on this Hunter. Seems like Warchi's getting the better end right now, and that's kind of to be expected. Prime has a great couple hunters that I think work really well, but they all are ability-based. Chiron, Neath, gods like that I think Prime can play at a very high level. Definitely the right call from Queso to take him off of the Persephone. Is Anhur a Prime-style god? I'm not sure. That remains to be seen.
See if Dracomarino can make this Geb work out for him, though. Actually, we're getting two very supportive supports instead of all the aggression we normally see, like the Serqets and the Horuses and Erlong Shens and the likes. Instead, these guys might be buckling down for a longer game battle. There should be plenty of mid-game presence, though, between a Thor and an Anhur here on the side of Outcold. But that Sobek can scrap some, but not quite the same way as like a Serqet.
A ton of CC between this 3v3 for Outcold. That's where this Geb is going to be really taxed. Where can Draco find the right opportunities? As WorstTurttle already plucked Deathbane's down, but no abilities ready to go for Outcold to punish him off of that pluck. Draco's got to find a way to make this shield get an awful lot of value, because he's going to need it.
He certainly is. Chekio, perhaps you can hope, can rewind often enough, but Warchi's going to need some backup, it feels like, here in this game. That dash is fast, but kind of only goes like in a straight line, rather readable. He can be followed pretty reliably by FrostiaK. Gonna need some backup. I think Warchi is here this game, but Cupid can be strong, man. If he can make it to that point in the game where he's got some items online and his abilities are really swinging.
I like the idea of this pickup of the Sobek. Breez does take a little bit of damage, but not too much. I mean, Sobek still does Sobek stuff, man. He still moves you around really well. I think it's great against Chronos. It's a really easy way to guarantee that a rewind has to come out by repositioning him. But I'm not sure that it's going to be able to get everything it usually does with Dracomarino's Geb on the other side. That's going to cause Breez an awful lot of problems. But man, the Sobek Olorun combination, Julio or Dracomarino, who's ever in that sanctified field, you get charge prayed, you get tail whipped, you are almost certainly not hitting the ground. And if you do, then you're dead in the next step or two. Knockups and sanctified field is a combo like Athena taunt into Medusa ult, man. It's what we're going to see as this character in Olorun gets more and more confident.
They're going to have to do a lot of work to try and make sure they can minimize Breez's impact here. I think this is Sobek, and some more credit to the kid. I mean, going from Serqet to Sobek, it's quite a different play style, I feel like, what they're going to do this time. I wonder if Queso might even feel as though they need to get away from these slows to some extent. Like something like a sprint maybe might help out here this game. You got to worry about Prime, shifting sands, the ultimate from Breez.
Yeah.
I don't know. It can feel tough at times. There's so many relics you want nowadays, and it feels like you have to have Blink, but maybe this will fit here.
Well, we already see one sprint. It's just on the side of Breez. Usually what we see up against the Cupid. I think that this item is probably underpurchased anyways, so I love the idea of picking up a sprint, especially once it gets upgraded and both Prime and Spudio get the gas pedal effect from that upgrade. I love it. Give him haste, let him go to work. I think that this could be a really good pickup for Breez.
That's a good point. We haven't seen this sort of double basic attack composition as much lately because there's been so much more focus on like having that early to mid-game pressure, especially in the 3v3. But between this Anhur and this Olorun, they'll be able to shred just about whatever you put in front of them. Gold Furies, Fire Giants, Towers. Queso are going to have to, I mean, there's more and more we talk about, the more it seems like Outcold have a lot of things working in their favor.
I like it, but they don't have Persephone this time.
That's true.
That's a big deal. And Spudio doesn't have that global pressure that really put a lot of pressure on to Queso in that last game to make the right calls at the right times. Excited to see how well Queso can adjust off a loss that really was incredibly back and forth. Never felt like one team had a solid lead.
It truly didn't. These are two perhaps surprisingly evenly matched teams. Queso, I think, is impressive. People Outcold starting to get closer to that potential that we knew they always had. You know, I said Outcold would feel good in the early to mid game, but it's not as if they're going to fall away late either. Anhur certainly will maintain his relevance, of course. Olorun only gets better the longer that things go, and you've got all this setup on the team too. I mean, whose job is it aside from this Cupid to slow down Dimi on this King Arthur? Their competition's going to be good at multiple stages.
This is a really difficult composition to go up against in the late game, I think, especially with Queso having a fairly lackluster one come late game. I mean, Chronos is obviously great in later stages, but outside of that, your next best character is Geb, who's also very good in the late game, but Cupid does not excite me 35 minutes into the game. Doesn't really get the juices flowing.
Warchi, they did so much to slow him down on this retreat path. First blood for FrostiaK, but that was good obelisk placement, good walls. They had everything to slow down Warchi.
That obelisk was hot fire. That was so good from PrettyPriMe. You called it though. I mean, Warchi's dash is very linear. It goes one direction, you know exactly where it's going to be.
WorstTurttle might be in some trouble now too as FrostiaK is taken to the sky. Can't find the stun. I like the idea to try and go for the CC immunity on the last breath, but it's just not enough. Prime lives and Outcold suddenly have 2 kills.
And that's all around that 3v3 in mid. This is how the meta is right now. How well can your 3v3 fight? And that's just twice that Queso has been caught out without Dracomarino. Draco goes to the left-hand side, and immediately Outcold get 2 kills. They're probably going to tell him that they need him in mid, because clearly they need the help.
Shekio should be able to survive this because he still has beads and the ultimate. Oh yeah, and 2-man stuns never hurt either. See you later, Outcold. That's how you respond to the gank, and Draco's rolling over. This might be more than just surviving. There's turnaround potential on this one, and I think Outcold recognize it. They are running.
Blink available for Draco, but holds onto it all the way. Breez did a good job of hugging that left side wall. Want to put as much distance as you can between yourself and wherever Draco can come from in order to make sure that Cataclysm doesn't end up happening.
I wonder how they got that read so much. I mean, they do have a ward up near the top of purple buff, but they were hightailing it out of there from minute 1. As soon as they couldn't get the stun, maybe just game sense, you know that someone's going to rotate over to this, or someone called it from middle lane, but it worked out perfectly.
As soon as Chekio hits the accelerate, you know it's not looking good.
Yo, is he coming at us?
Yeah, he's no mana, half health, wants to fight. He's either lost his marbles entirely, or there are some boys on the way.
They had the correct read then of that situation. Got right one out of there. A little bit of action in the middle lane, but no one ends up falling as a direct result. Beads on cooldown for Frosty and Prime for a little while longer. Not as a result of that last skirmish, but they still don't have the same for Warchi and Chekio, so there could be some action in the next 30 seconds. Beyond that, though, there should be some safety.
No Glad Shield rush for Julio this time around. Goes boots right off the bat. A little bit interesting. I think we saw him match the Glad Shield early last game, but without the teleport, you need to be able to get back to lane quickly, and so that's probably why we see him pick up the boots. May have gotten this last game as well. Might have missed it, but now he's at a pretty massive disadvantage of the trade until he goes back towards the lane. He's already backed, buys a full breastplate, so really leaning on the CDR aspects, trying to get as many change stances in. I think it's totally fine.
Agreed.
Tier likes Glad Shield, but doesn't rely on it quite like, well, King Arthur relies on it more than anybody, but quite like most other solo laners really do.
He's already got a pretty potent heal right there in the kit, so if anyone can forgo it, Julio on the tier does come to mind. And he's right there with me in Anubis. It always feels like you just don't quite have enough relic slots when you play those two gods in particular, because you got to have Blink right away, and there's so much stuff that you want. So Julio's going to try and make this Blink work out for him. He was aggressive with it last game. I can't think of any reason why he wouldn't be again here.
I wonder what his next relic's going to be. Could be something like a shell to try and let him tank a little bit better. Could be thorns to give Prime some problems. When you see no teleport, because Julio did go teleport last game, when you see it this time around, it tells me that Julio feels like he needs another relic. Could be the sprint like you were talking about with all the slows for Outcold. I'm curious as to where he's going to go once he hits 12.
Breez has to use the dash, kind of catches
awkward.
the wall. He only gets punished as far as the heart bomb there. I feel like that could have been way worse, but he does end up finding his way back out of that tough situation. Though FrostiaK could find himself meeting up with WorstTurttle, Chekio, and Dracomarino. Queso in the wrong side of the map, getting aggressive. It's because the red buff spawning WorstTurttle catches the worst of it, but is able to get out of there thanks to a Geb shield. That will be the Cataclysm going out from Draco, but it doesn't save his life. He falls for the third kill for Outcold unanswered.
Warchi has to use the beads as well. Really good engagement, and that's something that probably gets a little bit underlooked as Chekio is in trouble now. FrostiaK actually hammers away, decides against playing aggressively. Guess no beads for Spudio, no beads for FrostiaK. Decides to play it safe despite a pretty good opportunity, I thought, to punish Chekio. It is level 11, so pretty big over there in the long lane. But the ability, I mean, everyone goes, oh, well, I've got a Thor ult from this weird angle. You know, I've got to catch them off guard with it. And a lot of times you really don't. I mean, in that instance right there, Chekio's already isolated. You can force him back pretty easily.
Spudio now in a bit of trouble. He's been hit by Cobra's Kiss Death Bane and needs some peel coming in from Breez stat.
Sick
It definitely works. But Dracomarino's coming in. There were just too many attempts on Spudio's life for him to survive. Chekio eventually gets the credit. And Breez is going to fall as well. Suddenly, Queso have two picks of their own. The duo lane of old, in quotes, gets caught out. And suddenly, Queso starting up gold.
Prime doesn't have his ultimate. FrostiaK doesn't have his either. But Dimi's here in level 12. Going to be pretty hard to bring him down, but not very high on the mana department.
Dimi's still battling it out anyway. Hard to convince this guy on King Arthur to leave. He has a target. FrostiaK took to the sky, lands on Dracomarino, and they find themselves a pick. Now suddenly it's Julio fighting a bit by himself. There's the Fields of Love, just came off cooldown from Warchi, and that should spell the end for FrostiaK. A nice basic attack puts him in the dirt.
Oh, but Dimi's doing too much right now, man. Just enough for getting WorstTurttle away, but Julio's still in some trouble. Prime doesn't have a cooldown available. That might be enough to let Outcold pull the Gold Fury, but Prime only being level 10, Warchi still around, decide to let it go.
That's 3 kills from one engagement, really, from Queso. They came into this with basically nothing. They got the pick on the Spudio and Breez, and then FrostiaK ends up falling too. when Warchi gets the Fields of Love. That's such a big fight from them. They're Queso now a bit out in front in terms of gold, you know, give or take. It's very even in that department right now, but they very much needed that fight. Because Outcold were, I don't know if running away with it is right, but getting whatever they wanted.
They certainly had the momentum, but Queso's put a stop to that. Feels like a big focus right now on the Draco. I mean, a lot of dunks, a lot of CC used on him that last fight. And you need to some degree, right? It's Geb, otherwise if you dunk someone else, he'll just cleanse that person, and then we look pretty foolish. But at the same time, it's only going to be it's not going to be as big of a shield right now. WorstTurttle has no beads. I think you got to abuse that a little bit more.
Team Queso right back to this aggressive positioning. It didn't work for them last time. I guess we got to classify it as a red buff invade that they went for, but I don't even know if they ever really got to fight over the red buff. They kind of got wiped back there. But they're pushing up into the jungle yet again, and I would have thought 13 minutes in it would be the Outcold draft. That was the one moving into the other side's jungle with the Anhur, with the Thor, the Sobek. But Queso have been looking for action around WorstTurtle Serqet.
Comes Julio, he's got an option, looking for the blink, finds Breez, he's dead.
Oh, for sure, Cataclysm is there too, Fields of Love just to guarantee it.
That's weird.
Bit of a bummer that Warchi has to use that there. I don't know that he has to use it,
He
but
definitely
that he does.
doesn't. He had Heart Bomb on him.
Yeah.
Maybe he was concerned. Maybe he didn't see the Heart Bomb anymore.
Yeah, maybe didn't feel as if it had landed. Gold Fury started, but
Hello?
FrostiaK dunks on 4 people. Not bad at all. They have the Sanctified Field waiting afterwards. Prime shreds through him with the Desert Fury, but Spudio has found 2 kills in this engagement. Julio is going to keep them from pushing any further forward, but they'll just settle for him instead. Spudio beads to keep pushing through the damage. Tries to catch out Checkio before he gets the rewind off, but it's not there.
Checkio does get rewind off indeed, but it'd be difficult for him to get away anyways. Prime and Dimi hot on his heels. Dimi gonna be able to chase him down. And that one, I can tell you exactly how that went in Queso's comms. All right, let's go gold. Mere moments before the dunk. Hey guys, remember Thor has, bang, just all 4 crushed underneath it, and it was just right on time for Frosty.
We don't track stats this way, but I bet the percentage of times you win fights starting them with a 4-man Thor ult, something near
90,
100.
yeah, 95.
It's pretty high up there, I would wager, man. It's hard to lose a fight when that's how it starts. And Queso looked as if they were not expecting it really at all. Not that they were super grouped, but they definitely all got hit as Spudio is in some trouble. A bit of an unnecessary death if he takes one here. Aegis keeps him alive, but again, he loses that relic.
Definitely a bit of a lazy back there from Spudio, but he is pretty far. It's a tough spot, I think. Losing Aegis certainly doesn't feel great. But that's Queso. I mean, you got to be a little bit quicker on the comms. I'm sure someone was about to say, hey, watch, spread out for Thor dunk, don't group up. Normally someone on the team will remind you of that, but it's got to be before we pull gold, not as we are pulling it. Even just a couple auto attacks into gold really group everyone from Queso up. It's a little bit of missed fundamentals right there.
And for what it's worth, there's a ton of times where Thor goes up to the air there and it's too soon. Yep. You know, where the Cold Fury gets pulled, but they're not really going to stay on it, or, they're kind of baiting. But Outcold kind of gambled that was an all-in commit from Queso on the objective, and they were right. And it sets up a really big dunk there from Frosty. And a ton of damage from Prime. He had the Desert Fury there immediately afterwards. Obviously, Spudio and his Sanctified Field was nuts there as well. That's almost how you draw it up, really.
Yeah, man, I've been there a million times as a player. You're doing an objective and you go, hey, does Thor have ult? And then you just immediately get crushed by it. You just need to accelerate the brain process a little bit. Get to that question 2 seconds earlier and get your answer 2 seconds earlier, and maybe don't get absolutely obliterated for it.
Sure would be sick if Thor was ulted.
Man, I'm really glad Thor doesn't have ult. Guys, just immediately killed.
WorstTurttle and the rest of the squad going aggressive. Good Cataclysm from Dracomarino stuns both, and WorstTurtle gets a pretty nice pick there onto Frosty. They might not even be done. Breez puts on the juke boots despite the reinforced greaves and is able to make his way out of there.
Good use of relic timers by Queso. FrostiaK speeds just now coming up. Was dead to rights as soon as Warchi dropped that ultimate.
Not too crazy hero these build past this time. You do have the Brawler's Beat Stick coming out from FrostiaK. They want to slow down this healing some, as Queso have all 5 members here in mid. They want this tier 1 tower, or at least something. now starting to rotate more towards the Pyromancer, and Outcold have got to decide how much they want to try and contest this, how much are they willing to commit. They don't even have Frosty, so this has to be light. Queso already took the Pyromancer, and now they're trying to see if they can bait Outcold into this fight. Dimi takes Dracomarino up to the sky, but still it's Queso with the numbers.
Perfect. Look at this CC chain on a Dracomarino until Prime doesn't do it right. Impales him out of range, and now Dimi gets punished.
And Warchi gets that kill credit. Frosty has now made his way in as well after using that Anvil of Dawn, but Queso are on the retreat path. But still, Outcold won a little bit more despite having already lost Dimi. Breez starts stepping forward too. FrostiaK incredibly low, but WorstTurttle has Blink. Last breath guarantees the kill.
So weird that fight from Outcold, FrostiaK in particular. That one is rough. I mean, FrostiaK tries to wall off WorstTurttle. Good attempt, but doesn't find it. Then it's just kind of walking at Chekio and Warchi. Beads is a stop time without using anything. Eats a heart bomb, keeps on walking. I mean, and then it just means that WorstTurttle gets an easy Blink cleanup kill. It was the right idea. I mean, you saw the whole setup there. Dimi picks up Draco. We're gonna park Breez right underneath him. We'll charge Priam back into Spudio's waiting arms. Not enough damage, and Prime really messing up with that impale.
It's Fire Giant time now. Queso has 3 members on the actual objective. Prime lurking over the wall, but no Desert Fury. His steal potential quite muted in that case, but Queso don't feel good about this one at all. And Warchi not disengaging cleanly enough, could be in some trouble. The stun comes through, but Dimi has the Magai's cloak, so he can keep right on pushing in between 4, but King Arthur often thrives here. Outcold finally fall back after forcing Queso out, but hold on, Frosty.
Thinking about it, WorstTurttle does have beads, and Draco's level 12, so neither one look particularly appetizing. I like the decision from FrostiaK. Try and land somewhere where potentially Queso doesn't know you used your ultimate. They might not have heard you, they might not have seen you. No reason to dunk right next to them and whiff and then immediately hammer out. Don't give them that information.
Outcold now the ones in position around FG, but this is more about warding. I think that's the right call. Not going to really be able to pull this one just yet. But Queso's fight around that Fire Giant, they had 2 members zoning, 3 on DPS. I mean, at 18 minutes into the game, I don't know if that splits enough to get Fire Giant, even in like the best of circumstances. So if that is a bait, it didn't really feel like one with the way they collapsed.
It was definitely a little bit half-baked, I would say right there. Both, they kind of, yeah, you know, we'll get it if we can get it. Yeah, we'll fight if we can fight. Let's just see what happens, and that often does not work at this level.
Agreed. Probably do need to have some kind of way to force your opponents, some kind of way to change the state of the game. I do always say that's the most important thing, right, is who changed the state of it, who set up the thing that led, you know, to the good fight that ended up happening. We oftentimes celebrate all the damage, but who changed the game state is what I like to see.
Hey, damage is important too, man.
Yeah, I know it's all that mages do. I get it, you know.
And CC.
Some of them.
Sanctified Field is
really, you know.
Nobody should.
Yeah, you think he should stun?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Have we seen Zeus since mid-season?
No.
Not even once.
No.
I don't think we've seen it in SML, SPL, or SCL.
You think they're sleeping on it? Zeus Longland is the play here?
No,
Give him all
you
that
would
farm?
get crushed. You would get annihilated, man.
And the stun would change that, yeah.
It would let him team fight in mid better.
It would let him team fight in mid better, but you wouldn't want him there.
But I actually don't think he's even that much better with the stun, because what made the stun so good was having 2 charges, dropping the ultimate, and insta-stunning them in it, and you can't do that with the detonate change.
That's exactly right. It's delayed now for everyone out there,
So
you
now
get some
it
time
should
to interact with it.
Lame. You should be able. It should be a. I'll get into it afterwards.
Well, let's get this team fight started. Then Frosty's in the sky, and Julio is his target. Maybe not the best ultimate. Warchi ults defensively to stop the push, and it does its job. Though Dimi and Breez, the frontliners, are out cold, still looking for blood. They don't find much. A little bit of a skirmish over these mid-harpies, but after a bunch of ults used, everyone starts to fall back.
And this favors Queso just because they didn't have any carries use feeds. Neither did Outcold, but Dimi had to use his, and that is actually a pretty big deal.
Wow, Lawbringer in from Julio. He thought he had something there that I didn't see. Now pushed back by the Impale as well. Isn't going to be able to find very much there, but they do have minions and Warchi threatening this tier 1. And they grab the tower, blink into the Cataclysm. They want Dimi dead.
They'll get him. Chekio's able to get the last hit credit, but how will the fight go after?
That's the real big question. Sanctified Field already on cooldown, and Queso positioning like they still want a bit more. Warchi dashes in aggressively, had the Heart Bomb. But PrettyPriMe still able to make it back out of range, no problem. Red buff being invaded, but WorstTurttle blinks in. He sees FrostiaK, ambush up and straight back down. That forces the Aegis. Chekio can't get in range for more damage, so Frosty lives.
Chekio actually used beads there just in case he was going to get plucked into a bad spot, but Breez was just there to end up healing. Warchi's Cupid, dude, is just causing too many problems. It's a huge boost in the sustain. That's why that last little engagement favored them. They could heal up. Outcold really can. Primal Fury goes down, and Warchi's has had way more of an impact than PrettyPriMe has so far.
He definitely did. The Fields of Love is a big tool for them as well. He's picked spots to be aggressive, which has really helped out. But Doug, if you could do me a favor, man, and bring up these charts, but I can tell you the great news, this game's still very much even. Yeah, 3,000 experience lead for Queso, but that's 22.5 minutes into the game. Not that big of a deal at this point. 1,700 gold, not really that much either. I mean, these two teams are still very, very much close.
This is certainly not out of reach for Outcold whatsoever.
No.
Feels like they're still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, bottom shelf, easy grab.
Yeah, they're doing okay. Love the Heartseeker pretty early here on FrostiaK. Just really lean into that damage. This way he can actually potentially kill Julio or kill Draco. Julio's getting tossed around a little bit back here, and a perfect wall from FrostiaK. Lawbringer never goes off. Sick play by Frosty. And by the way, Heartseeker even better on Thor than you think because it procs off of the arc damage after the ultimate as well.
That's pretty good.
So you'll get, if let's say you full combo someone, you'll get 4 procs on Heartseeker instead of just 3 you might think you'd get.
That's a lot of damage.
Also very good on Susano because get some extra damage on his passive.
Do you just, I mean, Heartseeker's just good.
Anytime you get an instance of damage from an ability, you get a Heartseeker.
Dracomarino blinks in, 3-man Cataclysm, Fields of Love right there. Prime is already low, but WorstTurttle has to settle for Spudio in this spot. I like the Desert Fury over the wall from Prime, even though it doesn't find much. That's a good headspace as Sanctified Field comes out from Spudio to slow down Chekio's aggression. That was out cold at the Tower of Queso, and they got pushed back.
And look at how many relics were expended in that fight by both sides, but I'm looking right at Queso. Both mid and ADC lost beads and Aegis that fight. No, Chekio actually lost beads earlier, remember, on that chase, but all relics down for those two was really important.
Could certainly be a bit vulnerable. Prime still holds on to his Aegis, at least for now, and actually we'll have beads back up in just a second, so there is a bit of an advantage there for him. But I don't know that he's been nearly as big of an impact in these games, quite as much as Spudio or Warchi or Chekio. If there were a carry that still had to have their relics, Queso probably doesn't hate that it is Prime as opposed to Spudio.
I agree. I mean, Prime, really good slash line so far, 2-0 and 6. Has done okay player damage, but the Desert Furies have not impressed me quite yet. I mean, he's had a couple where there's been CC chain targets, and he's only able to land 3 of 8, maybe 4 of 8 spears. Need a little bit more accuracy from him, and the good news about Anhur these days is that it's not like the Anhur of old, where at this point you're thinking, okay, Anhur's not going to do a whole lot. Now, still a huge team fight, slow and shifting sands. But the fact that Desert Fury applies Enfeeble on her passive to let him actually deal relevant damage in the late game is a huge factor for him.
Outcold. A little bit behind Team Queso right now, but they're heading over towards the FG anyway. At least to get some information. Both teams have a good deal of wards here, so they'll certainly know as WorstTurttle avoids the Impale and keeps the Magai's cloak intact. We got quite a few of those floating around. Dimi, WorstTurttle, Draco, all with one to their name. Looks like Frosty's working on one as well.
He'll have it very soon. Every time I build Magi's cloak, I go, this is so much cheaper than I think it is. Every time. It is dirt cheap for an incredible,
$21.50, I think. Yeah,
for an incredibly effective, really stats and passive.
Whoa, was that the ult there from Dimi? That was the baby one, so it's not that large of an expenditure. Warchi using his ultimate kind of by himself over here on the left-hand side, so a lot of just kind of independent calls being made, it feels like, from both teams. And in goes WorstTurttle. Cobra's Kiss does pull in both Prime and Breez. Now it's time for the spins to start coming out from Demi. But FrostiaK's taken to the sky and hit another big ultimate and then immediately pays for it with his life.
Oh, Julio didn't get the message. The Sanctified Field was causing them to back up, but look at this. A couple blinks over the top. and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Perfectly calculated, I guess we have to say, from Team Queso, as suddenly they're the ones who are running over Outcold. Chekio finds himself a double kill. Dimi's been stunned by the heart bomb. You don't like grouping up with the King Arthur, but you love Chekio finding his way to a triple kill. Rampage, that means 5 in a row. I don't even know that you need FG. They can just start pushing.
Phoenix looks like it might be in the cards. PrettyPriMe hanging around. No blink for Julio, so he's safe, but WorstTurttle has his just a little bit too low to end up going for it. Great fight from WorstTurttle. Doesn't really get a whole lot of kills there, but really is the one that sets that whole thing in motion with a beautiful double Cobra's kiss onto both Breez and PrettyPriMe. Gets the beads from Prime, ults Breez, make sure you get that kill. I love the way he's playing this Serqet.
It just started a bit funky, is all I would say about that fight. And one of the least clear fight starts we've seen from these two teams in this whole set. But it ends up working out, and that was with FrostiaK hitting a really good ultimate in there, but he gets blown up immediately. I don't even know that Magai's cloak would have helped him there. It wasn't so much about the CC. He got bursted by someone and never really even got to play SMITE. Now Queso with a 7,000 gold lead as opposed to that small 1,700 one I mentioned earlier. They can definitely start bullying around this FG.
It's definitely looking good for the boys of Outcold right now. They're in of Queso. They're in a good spot after that team fight. Mid Phoenix gone. Huge lead in gold now, the first real one of the game. But I feel like their composition in the late game, it still scares me a little bit. You're really relying on WorstTurttle to keep getting really good initiations, and that becomes increasingly difficult for Serqet, especially when there's even a little bit of damage in the build, which WorstTurttle has in the form of that Jotun's Wrath. Just can't be tanky enough. This Pridwin doesn't do a whole lot for him. He's got a lot of HP, but not a lot of protections right now.
WorstTurtle jumps in, doesn't find anything he was looking for. I imagine beads from Frosty or Magai's cloaks would have been the call, but doesn't seem to have gotten either one. It just cost him his own Magai's cloak. Now Pyromancer being looked at by Outcold, and they'll grab that one without too much trouble. That's not bad. Obviously, it's not a huge deal at this point in the game, but any farm they can get back will certainly help, as Julio has now expended his blink and found very little.
That's a big win for Outcold for sure. I mean, blink, Tom references it as Tier's true ultimate, and it's really not that wrong, I don't think. It is as important as an ultimate for Tier.
Yes, it's very
It's actually more important, I think.
Yes.
So it's like his real ult. Well, you need it to do the stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of ultimates, lots of characters need their ultimates to do the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, if that's what he needs to do the stuff,
Okay.
and ultimates are what lets you do the stuff for most characters.
Uh-huh.
Ergo, Tier's blink is his ultimate.
No.
Where is the disconnect?
Well, he has an ult. It's Lawbreaker.
Sure.
And that's his ultimate.
Yeah, but it's not as good. It's kind of like
It's not as good as Blink.
it's not as good as blink. It just isn't. There's no way it is.
It's just a slower Blink, except for all the damage. Yeah.
And the slow.
Yeah.
And the
slow.
CC immunity.
And the CC immunity. Yeah. Glad that
This
we
all
could
actually
agree.
hits dummy hard.
Glad
by the way.
we could get to the point where we're on the same page.
120% scaling. Bring back Tier jungle, dude. This bodies in the jungle.
What is going on? There's a moment we were on the same page for a second, then you lose me again with this
Sorry,
Tier jungle thing.
I went full F-dot.
Yeah, you really did. That whole interaction was very Tom. When
Yeah.
at least when it's Tom, I know. When you and him
Yeah.
do it, it's like, what? Stop. What's going on?
I guess that's true. Sorry about that, man.
Julio going aggressive. At least wants to get, I imagine, the Magai's cloak here from Dimi, and they do. But this is a little bit more than just pursuit onto the cloak. They're straight up fighting. It costs Draco his bubble as well. Breez now plucking Julio back in. This has turned into an actual scuffle. Big ult from Spudio dissects the team fight, and Julio and WorstTurttle now isolated on the wrong side of the tracks. But it's Prime who needs some help. Big stun from Frosty, but Warchi looping around the backside blows up the Anhur.
Julio still half HP. WorstTurtle joins and immediately gets shown the door as Warchi's locked in, but he's got no damage to worry about. Chekio took care of Dimi already. And really, it's just Outcold's backline is not dealing enough damage this game.
Yeah. I find myself agreeing with you. It seems as though Team Queso have had a little bit too much room to operate. They move over to the mid Phoenix, reclaim that one. Right side Phoenix starting to melt beneath Chekio's damage. Not quite as much you might expect to hear from the Chronos, but he's getting there as Spudio falls as well. This is starting to look like Team Queso might have this one wrapped up. FrostiaK in some trouble. Aegis and Beads buy him some time, but even still he can't make it all the way back to the fountain. Trying to get to the hammer, but can't make it. Chekio gets that kill, and Team Queso stretch us to a third game.
Hey, Julio's pretty good at tier, and Cupid's better than we thought, because that was impressive, I think, from Julio and from Warchi in particular. Those two did so much teamfight controlling.
Yeah.
WorstTurttle had a much better game than the scoreline would really show you. I think that he played very well on the Serqet, and ultimately I just don't think Prime had nearly enough impact on that. Anhur, don't love him on that pick, put him on something a little bit more in his wheelhouse, and I think Outcold might return to form.
I think so too, man. I mean, yet again, Julio is able to have a monster performance in this game, and I don't know that we get to credit the solo laners as much as we like to nowadays. They've become a little bit kind of to the wayside. Maybe that's part of why the Knights might be able to succeed if we take a moment to talk about SPL. But here in this actual minor league game that we're in, I do think that Julio had a good performance.
He looks great. The tier is always solid. That's the big deal for him. That's always been a comfort pick for him. I loved Warchi on that Cupid. I thought that was really excellent. And now Outcold have got to find a way to get in there and find a way to win Game 3.
Remember how important these games are. These two teams are not out of contention for that second spot to make it to the placement week. This third match is going to be hugely important. I don't even tell you not to leave. There's nowhere else to go. Be back here after the break.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the SMITE Minor League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. This afternoon is still continuing because Queso and Outcold Gaming have really going the distance here, going to a third game now between the two, as Queso managed to answer back in game number 2. Joining me on the desk as always, as it has been so far today, Anatoly, what happened in that game?
A lot of it came down to the back line. I love the play from Chekio there on the Chronos. Also Warchi onto this Cupid, something we don't very see often in the mid lane, but it made a lot of sense. The cripple was a good way to really start shutting down the King Arthur from Outcold Gaming. He couldn't really get online for Dimi, unfortunately.
And with that as well, you were talking about the Cupid for the mid lane here. It gives a bit more presence to the team fights a little bit in the early stages. Really made an impact for Warchi, and it also allowed Chekio to get a nice big lead there, 8-1 and 8 at the end of the game.
Out of his team's 18 total kills. Can't forget what WorstTurttle was able to do in the early game on the Serqet. Healing wasn't that much of a factor for Warchi, but it's all about the resets.
Chekio's GPM, matching that almost of Spudio's in previous game. If you get over 600 GPM, I think you're winning the game, if you're a hunter anyway.
Yeah.
Let's have a look back at some of the plays from that game then, Tolly. And, well, this is what it was from Julio's point of view, just trying to get involved in these fights, and poor old Breez was not having fun on that Sobek.
The Breez Sobek play did not have a good one, unfortunately. He had the plucks from time to time, but I think Julio's fearlesses were just a smidge better. The blink plays into all the follow-ups to see.
Yep.
The first pick get from Dracomarino really putting in the hurt.
Did cost him a lot on some of these engagements to kill that Sobek, but then after that, the team started to fall apart quite a bit and open the window for Queso to keep the aggression going. And then Chekio, good performance as we saw by the scorelines. Clearly, he was swinging for the fences.
And honestly, this last team fight taken by Outcold Gaming to defend their Tier 1 tower at 30 minutes, very uncharacteristic of a team that has that much experience, that knows what it takes to win games or at least prolong games and defend, and instead they take a Hail Mary play to defend 500 gold and they lose off the back of it.
So I wonder if we'll see Outcold go back to first pick now, because both teams have been successful in that first pick position. They've kind of dictated the pick and ban phase for their own sakes, and it's really allowed them to be quite strong there. So I want to see if Outcold go back for that first pick.
This is do or die, honestly, because both of these teams being at 4-3 and with Flashpoint losing to Exordium being at 5-3. Now, whoever wins this between the two of them is going to tie with Flashpoint.
Well, I think we'll see a Persephone ban from Queso this game.
They
did it in game 2 when they were first pick, so it shows they've not really got it. And I think after that one game, Outcold played it in PrettyPriMe. I don't think we'll see that again, but I will be interested to see how the rest of this one develops. Geb ban, Amaterasu ban. I'm expecting a Capri again from Outcold because they did this last time.
They did. They banned away the Geb, the Capri, and the Thoth in that first pick position to pick the Persephone themselves. Queso gonna adapt, I'm sure, with the Persephone ban. I think that PrettyPriMe in the last, or rather the first game, was a factor.
For sure, I think it's the ultimate more than anything else that really dictates some of the pace of what it can bring to a team fight. Because not only do you lock down one target, it's potentially multiple. Isis banned out so far by Queso. Now we'll see what Outcold go for this time. It was Thoth last time. This time, they're going to respect Chekio's amazing plays on that Chronos.
622 GPM at 8-1 and 8 out of his team's 18 kills. Yeah, ban away the Chronos. The shenanigans there are no longer a factor. Now, instead of banning the Cabrakan, they leave Set, they leave Thor, they leave Persephone all open.
Queso just don't value it then. That's what it says to me, right?
They banned it in game 2.
Yeah, when it was their pick, but they left Set open here, so maybe they get Persephone for themselves. It's a good point. I didn't really think about Set. I'm so used to being permanently banned that when he gets through, I'm like, wait. So Thor's on the table, Persephone's on the table, but they're going to first pick the Serqet here, first of all.
I think that they weren't too worried about FrostiaK's presence in the previous game. And I love how OCG neglect the Persephone because of the ban from Queso in game 2 when they were first picked.
That's what I think that's part of it. So the Morgan going to be drafted for Queso. Now this will answer whatever Outcold Gaming do put on the table now, and having a Serqet on your team as well. Something that Morgans love to have is a solid escape option. Serqet is that. Naja picked up, and it's got to be Persephone here. I'll be very confused if it's not, more than anything else, as to why they wouldn't choose it. Unless there's something that Queso think they've worked out a strategy against dealing with Persephone.
It's possible.
Which I didn't see in game 1, so
I mean, it's already locked in. Like, that was a telltale sign to see how OCG are outplaying Queso thus far in the picks and bans. But you got to keep in mind, Morgan is going to be able to transform into these assassins. So the Set, if it pops off, so will Queso on the Morgan Changeling.
Now, there's a bit of a difference there where Set, Naja, both could jungle, both could technically lane in different formats. Naja generally sticks to that support role for the most part. But then you've also got Set that will go solo lane or into the jungle. I think we're seeing more success in the solo lane than the jungle position, although I have seen people like Scream play that in the jungle in competitive play.
Side lanes are nice. You're getting a lot of poke potential. Belair played it the most thus far. I think not enough players in the SPL give Belair that credit, which is why they casually give him the Set. But he's been making a statement on this guy in the lane game once he rotates with the Kingslayer. You want to stick it in one of the side lanes because you have that kill potential with such a short cooldown with the MP5 from your blue buffs and also the Totem of Kuz. That's where you want to run it.
Funny enough, yeah, we've seen it in the duo lane too. So we couldn't actually see that Set go anywhere. I think the last two picks from Outcold will give the game away though eventually as to where we're going to see that end up. Queso though, they've already got their mid laner more than likely locked in, all their duo laner and Morrigan. Serqet's flexible to that support role if required. Kuzenbo now locked in. Tells me that Serqet might be in the jungle here.
Possibly. And I love the Kuzenbo pick because you need disruption when Set goes in with that Kingslayer. You don't have knockup immunities, so you're going to be able to get displaced quite heavily. Hard to really get off that damage, and hard for Thor to get off that damage if you're in that watery grave.
Very deadly team Outcold Gaming have drafted him. A little bit worried about how they're going to take down Phoenixes and towers, though, because their major damage dealers in terms of getting towers down is generally physicals, and Set, Naja, Hombatz all have to be in melee range there to do so.
That's true, but they do have long-range poke potential with the Thoth, and even Persephone to be able to at least bully Queso out of the Phoenixes to maybe confirm it that way.
It's a real goon squad of a team Outcold Gaming have drafted here. Like, that's all press W and run at them from this team. The only one that you really probably going to want to sit back is that Thoth for the artillery range, whereas, you know, Queso's composition, well drafted all round. How do you feel, Tony?
Feels that way. I'm leaning a little bit more towards OCG.
Well, let's find out who takes this game and who takes the set. Jumpfinch and Aggro are standing by.
We certainly are, Hindu Man. Thank you for using my full name as we move into game number 3, the ultimate decider match. I don't know why I said ultimate, but it's certainly a decider match here either way. And Outcold, man, they get Set and Persephone and Thoth. I know they don't have, you know, a true frontliner on this draft, but it still seems potent.
That's the only thing that I'm concerned about is the lack of potential frontline. Otherwise, man, Outcold's draft looks insane. And I love Outcold calling Queso's bluff on them having or not having a Persephone player. It's crazy to me that there are so many teams that seem unprepared or unwilling to play this character. I can't think they're unwilling if they've played her in practice with her extensively, because in my mind, Persephone is too good to pass up if you are comfortable with her. So a lot of what this tells me is that a lot of these teams haven't practiced enough with her, and that is crazy.
It is certainly surprising. I mean, I think it does put your team at a bit of a disadvantage if you're not ready. I mean, there might be some teams out there that don't, you know, completely buy into her strengths. I think that improvising is not one of them for Persephone, and maybe that is the reason why a team like Queso, who fights very frantically, maybe don't particularly value her, but I don't know, man. She has so many tools at her disposal. I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't want to value her.
She's good. I don't know. Dracomarino's got a great path here. Did this to Prime at level 2 in game 1 of this set.
Give me the beads.
But now Prime is going to get punished because WorstTurtle's here as well. Same situation as game 1 where he's playing the Persephone. Draco just walks up behind him.
And he's able to find a much-needed first blood to slow down Persephone. We're just singing her praises, but she certainly does not get helped by taking some early spills, as Chekio is on the Morrigan here this time. And that's one more thing that I think might give Queso some breath here in this game. Yes, they've given over Set. Yes, they've given over Thoth. Yes, they've given over Persephone and a really good Hunbatz. But in any given moment, they could have any of those tools on their side.
That is true. I love the idea of getting the Morrigan here for Chekio. I think that Spudio should be really, really careful in this lane once Chekio hits level 5. Because what does he do if Chekio is able to stealth into lane, close that gap, find the stun in the 2, Spudio's going to dash away, and then Chekio's going to turn into Dimi, and he's going to kill you. And there's not a whole lot that I don't think Spudio's going to be able to do about that. So he has to be able to stop that initial part of that whole equation, which is don't get stunned. It require a whole lot of ward coverage. You have to expend a lot more gold against the Morrigan ADC than you often want to.
Breez is in a lot of trouble now. Julio rotates in and finds another kill. Outcold starting to get a bit picked apart here in this early game by Team Queso, who are rotating around a lot, who are willing to be aggressive around this Serqet. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff that's being valued right now, but turns out Serqet just stays good.
All the time. WorstTurttle with another near kill. Exploding those poisons. Dimi really wants to try and defend this blue. FrostiaK's here to help.
FrostiaK will move in first. Dimi can fight from range with the skewer, and he was correct in his read. They were able to defend the blue and pick it back up for him. He could even stick around here in lane.
Has enough sustain. Still a health potion in the chalice, so he's actually sitting okay.
Relatively.
In this lane. You know, don't need too much mana on set. Pretty low mana costs. You will start to feel it as you sit in lane for a long period of time because you're often using 2 abilities to clear the wave. You're spawning a clone and you're using skewer. But you see people do it in mid and ADC and jungle okay. With a blue buff, Dimi's able to be really, really safe on using those buttons.
I just think Outcold have to get this early game a bit more together because I really think they've drafted well. I don't know how you build defensively against this composition. It's not just that they have multiple damage types, but different sources. There's range, there's up close, there's really good CC as well. They have a lot of things that this composition can potentially do well if they can execute it, and it's not going to make matters easier if they keep giving up early picks.
Still feel like their late game is really, really good. I mean, Serqet has difficulty in the later stages of the game. Julio's going to be difficult to deal with, but at the same time, if he whiffs a Fearless or you can use that Persephone ult after Lawbringer's down, then he's pretty much just dead. Chekio's going to cause problems, but Warchi theoretically should fall off. Draco is going to cause problems, but you can hopefully just ignore him come late game. I think the game one difference for Queso, where they looked like they might win that game, really was Dracomarino and how well he played this Kuzenbo. If he can reprise that same level of impact here in this game, Outcold might still have trouble even with a Set and Persephone draft.
Queso are pushed up into the order side jungle, but they're a good deal ahead of the blue buff spawn. Breez with a sash, just try and buy himself some positioning more than anything. Blue buff will be on its way, but Julio here, but Queso made the hard call to give this one up. There were enough members of Outcold for defense, and Queso didn't want to have to fight for it. But this could be trouble for Prime yet again. Flourish, get things started off right. The beads are just enough to avoid getting pulled back by the last breath, so Prime makes it out.
Close, man. Out of mana means that it's pretty difficult to turn and burn, try and get that ultimate. FrostiaK's looking for WorstTurttle. Beads are good for WorstTurtle.
Does get the beads out from me, you're right. That is a big deal, but that felt a bit forced from FrostiaK. I'm almost wondering if WorstTurtle in that spot should hold them.
Yeah.
He had a lot of backup on its way, and that was not a perfectly placed Fear No Evil.
No, it wasn't.
That's a hard call to make.
It certainly is. You got to have your team kind of communicating with you in that moment.
Breez in some trouble, though. Into the watery grave goes Dracomarino, but that's a really good Windfire Wheels, and now Warchi's the one in trouble for Prime. Can't do enough by himself to punish the Ullr. Warchi makes it out.
Really good job by Draco to just stand in front of PrettyPriMe, block autos, block abilities, make sure he can't pop those seeds that he was trying to place down in that little area. Certainly a good instincts on Kuzenbo, a god that usually not thought of as a true guardian, but really does have excellent peel. Peel is not his problem, it's the initiation a lot of the time. And we saw that the tier was there last time around for Queso. Julio's on that again. Serqet this time around for WorstTurtle might be a little bit more difficult to initiate on, but still has potential, especially in the jungle.
Has great 1v1 potential too. Kuzenbo's good. You won't find me arguing in the other direction on that issue. It always feels like having a Kuzenbo on your team helps out. Kuzenbo's another one of those gods, though. I always like to ask this question that feels like does better on other teams as Dimi does still have the ability to get out of there by moving to the Sand Clone. That's the Lawbringer from Julio. Committed as he pushed into the tower yet again. Dimi's going to try and back, but there's a lot of members of Queso here for this blue buff spawn.
Should still go down in their favor unless FrostiaK can make a play. Breez on the way as well, and no teleport here from Dimi. Breez doesn't find a good ring toss, so that ends that engagement pretty quickly.
WorstTurtle on the disengage at this point. Outcold have started to look for a little bit more. They've been around for the blue buff a little bit more. This one does get stripped away, but that's really just as a result of Julio's pressure, making sure that Dimi can't be there for the defense this time. Down a little bit less than 2,000 gold, more like 1.5. So the early game working for Queso so far, but as we said, certainly not getting too far out of reach for Outcold yet. They have such a strong late game to hopefully fall back on.
And I like the fact that we see Draco pick up the Purification Beads. Watch out, Chekio finds Prime, and has an ultimate as well, and Prime no beads.
But does use the Flourish to avoid the overhand smash. It's not enough though. Chekio ends up getting PrettyPriMe as he drops. Prime can still return some damage in this form, though it is reduced. There's the actual ultimate coming out from Prime this time, and Spudio falls in trade. Final Judgment coming through as they find one more. FrostiaK takes care of Warchi. Suddenly Outcold finding some answers.
Oh, but here comes Julio up and over the top. Dimi fearless, good disarm,
good damage.
But Dimi has the skewer, and that's enough to bring down Draco.
And needs to get some of these slows out. That'll be what helps FrostiaK make his way back to the tower. So a good rotation over from Dimi, as well as some good posthumous work for Prime, does set up 3 kills there for Outcold, even though it was Queso that were the initial aggressors.
Yeah, Persephone's pretty good.
I'm
pretty
so.
sure.
Yeah.
Not a lot of characters Could you actually, I don't know, I mean, are there any other characters like you actually kill them, they are dead on the ground, but then they are able to use one of the best ultimates in the game anyways?
No. Kumakarna can yawn. I don't think that's as good.
No, I don't think so either.
Persephone feels quite strong, one certainly worth valuing at this point. Team Queso are going to have to figure out how to navigate these treacherous waters that is finding the right time to commit onto Persephone, because I really think that is one of the biggest issues when fighting up against her, is deciding when is safe to try and commit on killing her when she's just going to get so much value out of the passive anyway.
I mean, it's right now when she doesn't have that passive up. I mean, you got to farm up those pomegranate seeds again, got to get 25. Doesn't take that long, but it does take some degree of time. It's a matter of how much overflow Prime has at the time as well. That's a big deal, and how much extra gold he's getting. Feel like it's just a difficult god to play against. I don't think there are a whole lot of windows into finding those little areas where you can actually punish her for it.
I agree. We always talk about interaction points, I feel like, and that's part of where I think some of the frustration with Persephone sometimes comes from. They do feel much narrower than what you might be used to with some of the other gods, the points that you have to try and mitigate her impact. So that's part of it. You know, if you're not feeling super comfortable with her, that's part of why you got to ban her.
But we saw game one where she does struggle, which is fighting on terms that she hasn't already been prepared for. Not having those gardens planted, not being able to harvest those seeds and put them in the right spot right away. I think that is a difficulty that this character will face. I think she is one of the hardest gods to play perfectly right now, not just because she's new, but because she has so many mechanics you really have to juggle very well. We'll see players start to understand how to straight up farm in their lane. You know, I think that long lane Persephone has a lot of potential. I'm looking at those players who can play mages in the long lane to really unlock this god, but Prime right now for Outcold looks like he's got a pretty good handle on it.
I think so too. Prime typically usually does, though, just about everything that he plays. The Anhur might left a bit desired in the last game. But we should be ready to get right back in after that brief pause so we can keep this very important match going. We've said it a couple times already, but this could potentially be a decider match. We don't know yet, but 2 weeks from now, we could be looking back at this set going, this was the one that got Outcold close enough to where they could qualify, or Queso kept them in reach. So there's a lot of potential knock-on effects here.
Huge game for Outcold. Queso as well is certainly not out of it, but it feels like Outcold is certainly the team that has the higher aspirations right now. Probably just because of the consistency problem for Queso that I tend to feel that way. Spudio loses the dash, and WorstTurtle's lurking, but likely just here to soak a little bit of farm.
There's a good deal of Outcold members here on this left side of the map, though, as in goes WorstTurtle. He doesn't find anything there. It doesn't really hurt so much, but it definitely doesn't help that WorstTurtle kind of initiated there and wasn't able to hit any of the abilities.
I feel like Spudio didn't even give him any respect either. Didn't react to the ambush sound, just kept on hieroglyphic assaulting purple buff like, yeah, FrostiaK, just get this. I'm not worried about this little scrub. He'll be leaving soon anyways.
I don't know how he knew, but he had the right read. Look at all these beads, though, over here from Team Queso, just right down the line. They know how much respect they have to pay to all the control. Let's run down them.
Sure.
Just in case. There's Fear No Evil there from FrostiaK that you have to worry about.
That's a good one.
There's a gigantic ultimate from PrettyPriMe that you have to worry about.
Not sure about that one yet.
There's Sash and there's Windfire Wheels from Najah that you have to worry about. There's the Root from Spudio that you have to worry about as well. Yeah, beats the right call as Frosty initiates in mid.
But Dracomarino has to use his ultimate just to help out, and Warchi uses the Purification Beads. FrostiaK got what he wanted out of that ultimate right there.
Works that time. They should be able to come back in and collect, particularly on the Ullr. We've discussed this too, how much he values that bead's cooldown in particular and will be vulnerable without it. Even if they don't necessarily kill him, maybe they can start a fight over at Gold Fury, and Warchi won't want to step up as far as normal, and that's part of how they open up the door for that objective. There's a lot of ways to cash in when you strip away beads.
Wonder if we'll start to see picks like Fafnir picked up against Persephone pretty consistently, gods, because remember, you can break that cage, those vines, by auto-attacking the main area of that Persephone ultimate. So those quick attack speed gods, Jormungandr certainly can cause her problems, I think, in that regard. But I think that, yes, she's super strong and super good, and if you can't play her if someone on your team can't play her in a role where she's viable, then you are doing your team a disservice. But we will see gods start to be seen a little bit more against her. We will see more counter picks kind of come to fruition. lot like how we've seen a lot more of Amana against Olorun as of late.
Right.
These picks that are just naturally good against that god. We'll start to see it for sure.
There'll be some opportunities. I wonder if there's any chance maybe Odin has something to say, dropping some cages around her. There's a lot of options. We'll let them.
I don't know. She's got
try to figure it
Flourish.
out. Just leave.
Yeah, she can just bounce.
Just walk away. And we've already said killing her doesn't always feel like the best answer, so maybe that's it. Maybe we just need someone that kind of makes her leave. Just gets her on out of there. Like we said, some of the gods that can take her out of combat for a while might particularly feel good and be more of a response here to this Persephone. As things have slowed down a bit in terms of starting up these fights. It's not as if there haven't been maybe some small skirmishes, but we're not seeing a lot around the objectives here just yet. We're not seeing a ton of setups and then the follow-ups off them right away. These two teams are both recognizing, I think, the importance of this match and how calculated they're going to have to be. I believe both of these teams are at 4-3, so they should be able to, after this win, tie Flashpoint, who are up there at that top position.
Don't forget, as Doug kind of reminded me with a question, that they do not, you can execute the Persephone eventually and she'll be in trouble. So that's something that I think that you can use as we move forward.
There's the ultimate there from FrostiaK. Warchi at half HP.
Yeah,
and a
that's
perfect
good.
snipe for Prime. He weaved that through. What a nutcase. See you later to Warchi.
That is, yeah, that's good. We like that one. The one guy who didn't have beads for like one more second ends up getting punished for it instantly by that big snipe from PrettyPriMe, but a good initiation by FrostiaK at the same time. When there's 4 beads on the other side, it's difficult, man, to find your windows as Batz. You've got to really leverage some CDR. None in the build right now for FrostiaK, but once he finishes Transcendence, he'll at least have a little bit.
And they don't have much non-committal CC, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yep.
From Outcold. So there's really not a lot of people who can burn the beads away, except FrostiaK. Maybe a really good route from Spudio, if no one has any options, could get the job done as well, or a sash from Breez. But you're right, FrostiaK's really going to have to pick his times well if he wants to get a big Fear No Evil off. That's one of their biggest cooldowns.
And it does mean that Queso had to wait until 12 to get Aegises in a composition where you don't really need beads that much, except for 1 or 2 characters. That feels a little bit bad at times, where you'd love to have Aegis against Persephone, you would love it against Thoth, you'd love it against Set, but you had to wait. Didn't cost too many people, and now that Julio's 15, we've got 5 sets of beads on the other side for Queso. I do think that being a little bit CC light here for Outcold might hurt them.
Seeing the Divine Ruin and the Brawler's Beat Stick both being valued by Outcold. Is this just for the tier, really, and some of his sustain? It doesn't look like there's that much they can worry about beside of Queso.
It really is. It's just the tier, but
wow.
Julio's a big deal, man. It's also still fairly cost efficient. Doesn't feel too bad to build. Going no CDR early on Batz does hurt, so because you really need as many Fear No Evils as you can right now, but
especially in all these beads, yeah.
Feel like that is something that will be looked at as FrostiaK goes forward. He'll get a little bit more CDR in the build eventually and be able to punish, but by that time there will be Magi's on the other side. It's a tough balance to strike.
Looks like that might be what WorstTurtle's working on here now, as he has that tier 1 of that cloak tree. Could be going into something like a mantle, spirit robe, or something like that, but I just got a feeling that it's going to be a Magi, as these teams have both been willing to buy them all set. And we just talked about how effective even a little bit of CC immunity could be into this Outcold draft. So I got to imagine that's the route WorstTurtle's taking.
Basically everyone on Queso should be picking up a Magi, specifically the 3 that are going to be on top of the enemy backline, and Julio, WorstTurtle, and Dracomarino. I think all 3 of them should have a Magi's sooner rather than later. Maybe Draco can get away without one because he already purchased the Purification Beads. Might need to dedicate himself to a little bit more team utility with the build.
I do like this horrific emblem, though, for Breez. This is the kind of game where I think he might be able to get a lot of value out of this pick in particular. Not a lot of slow immunity for Queso.
Yep.
Obviously, they can't afford to buy Sprint. We just talked about how much they need relics in other slots. I think this could really work. And even if it's not just the slow, upgrading horrific emblem is going to be really good either way.
I like it. I like this a lot. And the relic dagger, so you can use it more often. This is a beads burning relic. You can get beads with use of this horrific emblem. You blink in and horrific 4 or 5 people. You can win a team fight that way.
And again, if they don't beads, like you said, you can just take the win there as Dimi does get caught. He still has the Lawbringer. I doubt he's in that much, or not Dimi with the Lawbringer, obviously, but he still has the ability to get over the wall. But there's too many members of Queso here. Dimi can't make it out. Warchi is the one that gets that kill.
Just a little too far forward there for Dimi, and oftentimes that's either a mistake on Dimi that he doesn't ask where everyone is or doesn't have enough ward coverage to really afford to go for a proxy farm at that point, or it's on someone from Outcold for not calling that rotation over from Queso, depending on where they are. You know, if WorstTurtle's coming back from base, just came from speed, it's not exactly realistic to have that communication going, but the really good players will have that. You'll have mid laners that have the speed timer in their head. Hey, WorstTurtle speed's coming up, probably going to be on that side of the map. That's the kind of communication that you can expect at a high level.
Okay, so we're going to use this opportunity to head right over to the bank. Gold Fury, as we call it colloquially. Here's the ultimate from Prime and from FrostiaK to peel them off the objective, but then keep the Gold Fury leashed, and Outcold take it with a final judgment, and Breez has a beast in his sights. He's found a target. It's a Warchi that he pulls back to the ground, but Breez might be too far forward. I'm getting excited, but there's no one there to follow up. Julio gets the kill, and now all of a sudden Dimi's following up too?
FrostiaK's in trouble. Czechia with a great angle to this team fight transforms into a Hunbats of his own. Is going to be able to get Spudio down.
Czechia gets that kill. Dimi still hunting Warchi, eventually claims that scalp. He'll look for FrostiaK here as well, gets that one, so a bit of a chaotic fight. But Queso do manage to find 3 kills, even though Outcold are the ones that get the objective.
I feel like that's a bit of inexperience shining through for Breez, where you get the objective, Outcold do a good job of stealing it, but we expended everything in order to get it. Final Judgment, Fear No Evil, Persephone all. I mean, it's tough to keep on going after that, but Breez finds an aggressive ultimate that baits the rest of Outcold into a pretty bad fight. It's a general rule of thumb in competitive. Once you expend a lot to get an objective, you got to back it up, and Outcold just don't.
Yeah, it felt like Breez gave up the driftwood there, like at the end of the Titanic, but the ship wasn't sinking.
Yeah.
There was no need to, you know, to kind of give himself up there in that spot. And you're right, there's certainly still a good bit to learn for Breez. You talked about Outcold's experience earlier, and everyone on that team has it, but Breez doesn't as much. He is newer to SMITE, not to competitive, not to competing, but it hasn't been playing a SMITE nearly as long as the rest of the team.
That's right, a former Heroes of the Storm Pro world champion.
Yep.
Over there in a different meta, or MOBA, which certainly brings a lot of weight behind it.
I agree.
I think that he's played really, really well and has assimilated very quickly into this team, but, I mean, anybody would have little experience in comparison to PrettyPriMe and Dimi and FrostiaK. Like, literally anybody.
Yes.
Breez has as much competitive experience maybe in a team environment.
I think that's fair to say.
But a lot less in terms of playing SMITE game, the battleground of the gods.
And I think sometimes when you're making those quick decisions, you know, there is still some of that's a little bit missing there. So not the end of the world, but you just hate to kind of give anything back on what was a really nice play from Outcold to be able to strip away that Gold Fury. Now there's a battle over vision on the right-hand side here near this Fire Giant pit. Wards down, Pyromancer being considered, and Dimi has a good position, but he does have to fall back. Remember, Outcold don't have a typical frontliner in this draft.
Breez at 0-3 is the only real member of that front line. Dimi's got a ton of HP, but not a whole lot of procs.
Outcold could be in some trouble, particularly Prime. As goodness gracious, does Czechia swing? That was all his damage, and Prime, I mean, I know he can do some damage from the grave, but he's already been removed. FrostiaK has a run as well as WorstTurttle starts to hunt him down. Czechia finds another 2-man stun. He's had a sick fight here so far. At 3 members of Outcold already down.
Spudio joins and is like, guys, where are we at? You know, where's the squad? No one left standing, it feels like, for Outcold. Just Breez and Spudio here. And Julio's going to be able to keep this Thoth at bay with ease. Sick fight from Czechia, who has really been impressive on this Morrigan, and I just don't feel like Outcold's done a good job of keeping track of him and where he is in a lot of these engagements.
And it's been tough, man. You can get lulled to sleep a bit as Julio blinks in on Breez. Right there waiting is Dracomarino. Warchi in some trouble. I don't think he paid any respect to Spudio's damage at all.
Just standing there auto-attacking in the tank, where Spudio is just pounding him with damage the entire time. Yeah, gotta keep your head up a little bit more than that, I'd say. Warchi really a little bit too focused on what his team wanted him to do, looking like a slot receiver for Tom Brady, thrown right into the thick of danger.
That certainly is what he looked like there. The call from Julio and Dracomarino was to follow up, and he followed up all right, and then got decimated by a safety from off camera.
Auto attack this guy, Warchi. But there's a Thoth hitting me. I don't care, man. Auto attack him.
Yeah, if you Aegis, you can't auto. And he's like, I guess you're right. He just keeps on trying to put in damage. So, I mean, I was just talking about getting lulled to sleep, but in the other direction. You know, that perhaps it was Outcold that had maybe taken this slower pace a bit for granted and then suddenly got caught off guard. But there's Warchi catching a little bit of that as well, and a nice answer back from Outcold.
Warchi still even with Prime. I mean, not the end of the world by any stretch.
Agreed.
Also saving the Aegis for the next engagement. Real smart. You know, that's what you always want to do.
Carry that over, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You only get so many uses every game.
That's right. You don't want to break it, you know. It's an amulet. It could say it could snap at any moment. You never know.
Been playing Breath of the Wild again, huh?
I have been. It's awesome. It's a great game.
Except for the inventory
You know what?
system.
You get
So bad.
champion weapons in that game.
Yeah.
When you do the Divine Beast challenge, and they can break. They
That's
should
so
be.
lame.
It is lame.
I hate that.
You got to go reforge them or
It
something.
stresses
and it's never
me
as cool.
out. It
It is.
stresses me out. It makes me not want to play the game. I'm not kidding.
I agree. With all the other weapons, I get over it, but the ones I specifically get from doing the Divine Beast ones, I should get to keep. As now there's some trouble here for Dimi. He'd like to keep his life. Big ultimate from Prime. That should slow down the chase, and it certainly does. Final judgment from Spudio, almost enough to claim Chekio's life, but is still among the living for now.
Man, such a good ultimate from Prime, and Spudio takes advantage nicely. It's difficult to find in that little corridor because you don't know exactly where everyone is. They lost vision. They don't know what everything is happening. No ward coverage right there. Spudio still able to find a really good one.
FrostiaK goes in aggressive, looking for Warchi. Fear no evil committed, but Warchi able to reposition, so Outcold head back to their own side of the map here this time. 24 minutes into this one, nearly 25, and still not that much separation. About 4K in Queso's favor, so not too bad, but they want to make things even worse for Outcold. They're starting up the Oni Fury now.
No final judgment available for Spudio, so this one's going to get a bit awkward, but Prime has his ultimate coming up soon. Queso doesn't seem like they really want to commit quite yet to this fight.
It sure doesn't. They've entirely disengaged off this one, perhaps. Even despite the 0-3-3 slash line, some fear of PrettyPriMe and that ultimate coming through at any given moment. He has hit some nice ones here this game. I don't think that we've gotten full Persephone value this time, but he has hit some good ultimates that have slowed Queso down.
I don't know, man. Hard to say you haven't gotten full Persephone value, and what's up? Prime is, even despite being 0-3, second highest on his team in player damage, third overall in the game, has set up a bunch of kills, it's felt like. I haven't looked at what Prime has done and thought, yeah, I wish I had another character.
No, you definitely want Persephone here as Steve Queso now taking a look at the Oni Fury yet again. But still, this is all about baiting, it feels like, trying to force Outcold into a bad spot. That is the flourish from Prime, but Breez immediately steps on the gas. Fear no evil there from Frosty as well. Ultimate, maybe a little bit to be desired, but just in case it was needed, it was there. Now they'll take a look towards WorstTurttle instead, who makes it over the wall. But Dimi the whole time has been in the back line.
Doing set stuff, man. Chasing down Warchi. Warchi no relics anymore. Gonna turn his attention towards WorstTurttle, but
What?
Julio, casual three-man fearless for the boy.
Those almost never happen. That's pretty huge from Julio. And that just puts the brakes onto all of the Outcold aggression. But this is what I mean. I don't know, man. That ultimate from Prime, if it had been needed, you want it there. But it definitely could have gotten more value in that fight as Oni Fury looked by Outcold.
Oh, that Spudio got his dash caught. He's dead. No way he lives.
Julio completes the rampage there with 5 in a row by taking the head off of Spudio. Outcold, though, still slightly favored in this fight, you might think. But Julio, doing some work, has found his way towards FrostiaK. He has been a nightmare on this tier all set long.
Just a little bit late on that Lawbringer. No blink for him, but doesn't seem to be ready to give up the chase because WorstTurtle's on the way.
Gets the tail end of it onto FrostiaK that pulls him back in, but then he gets another Fearless onto another priority target, Breez. We'll see you later as Queso somehow managed to get 2 picks.
Man, Julio tier is...
It's good, isn't it?
It's so sick. And no one bans it from him because you're like, do we really have to ban tier right now in 2019?
You think it could get to Alquang on Johnny levels? You think it's got that much carry potential?
I think so. You want to, I mean, at least put him on a different pick and see if he does the same thing as Prime. Lurking, ultimate fired, but not enough damage onto the objective. I don't even know if it hit the objective.
I don't think it did.
I don't think that it won't stop on the objective. It'll only stop if it hits a player, and it might need to hit a player there to explode on the objective itself. I'll be honest, Finch, I haven't been playing enough Persephone to know that interaction.
Sure.
Because She's permabanned in all my ranked games.
I think she should be.
I gotta spam some casuals with her. That's what I gotta do.
Get in there where they can't ban the good stuff, right? No.
That's right.
Couldn't be me. That's one of the things I find myself agreeing with Tom on. It feels like you gotta play ranked to get the real Smite experience.
Yeah, but I want to play Persephone. That's
And
the
so you
only
gotta go
spot
to
I can do
casuals,
it.
that's true.
It's the only spot. If I could enter into a gentleman's agreement with the other team, we could make something work.
Maybe take
But
her to
that's
Corrupted
collusion.
Arena. Have some fun there. Yeah, don't collude.
Sounds like I'm going to corrupted ranked.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Presidential from Ryan here right now as he talks
Thank you.
about colluding. Trying to get away
Stop
with
harassing me, man.
it. Dracomarino able to disengage, though he takes some poke to make that happen. WorstTurttle dives in and then right back out. I think that was the right call. Wasn't much there.
Relic situation's looking pretty good for both teams. A gets down for Warchi for about 20 more. Dimi has to expend that Kingslayer ultimate, but a lot of damage being put out. Final Judgment does clip WorstTurttle, but not a lot of damage.
Doesn't actually get the kill, but Chekio, he's had such a strong game. No reason for him to start slowing down now. Prime in some trouble, but FrostiaK actually manages to find Warchi way in the back line. Breez keeps Dracomarino out of things for most of the fight as well. These fights have been so back and forth, coming down to such slim margins as Draco blinks away from Frosty.
FrostiaK is going to be able to find Dracomarino eventually. FrostiaK's been having his share of the back line right now. No one's really turning to peel. Everyone's focused on the dive.
FrostiaK in some trouble here now. Still has the Mad Guy's cloak that could allow him to avoid the stun. Perhaps why Chekio's hesitating. But these fights have started to kind of deteriorate a little bit. We're fighting a lot over not very much.
Hey man, Pyromancer is worth a lot.
Good point.
In the game, you know, that's a big deal. But I agree, it's you got to pick a little bit better fight selection. It feels like, and as this game goes later and later, theoretically, Outcold will have a chance to get more and more wards, so that they can keep track of where Chekio is on this Morrigan. But my God, Chekio's already full build with both relics upgraded. It's only 30 minutes in, man.
He has been giving them the business, as they say, so far here in this game. Chekio.
They do say that, by the way.
You're not wrong.
I know. I was trying to help. I was right there with you.
Thanks, man, for having my back on that one.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
It
if
seemed
you
like you
hadn't
needed
come in and sounded off for me, no one would have bought it. You know what I
Right.
mean? They'd be like, "What's the? I've never heard of that." As Lawbringer forced out from Julio on the right-hand side. Yeah, Chekio's had a really strong performance with this Morrigan here so far, though, man. I am not surprised by any means.
Gotta find. I wonder what transformation I would be pre-selecting here. Last time it was Serqet.
I thought you were wondering like what Ukraine's number was, so you can collude with them as well. Is that what you were trying to
Still
say?
sticking to it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If we're just colluding, why not, right?
We're already past the collusion pitch. I know our world is crumbling around us, but we got to focus on this minor league Smite game.
Yeah, it's
now,
hard
right?
to sometimes, though, man, when the free world is just deteriorating at any
Well, at
given
least our planet's doing well.
moment. Well, we're in Europe, right? Things are better over there.
No.
Oh, you're right. It's not. Oh, God.
Everything sucks,
Yeah,
chat.
take some solace in Smite for a little bit, I suppose. In a
Escape from the real world.
It's been a good set, so
It has.
We could just chill there, perhaps, and enjoy some really good teams. That's right, we're spooky season. Thanks, Tyler. That's worth the celebrating.
October 1st, rent is due, baby. Let's go.
Oh no, it just keeps happening. Pyromancer does go down for Team Queso on the Chaos side of things. They'll at the very least grab that mini objective. They've calmly turned this into an 8K gold lead, and that is still relevant. I mean, you talked about already, Chekio at full build. WorstTurttle is as well, has that Pride Win and Relic Dagger finished. So there's still some pretty nice power spikes they have over Outcold.
Still, I mean, a lot of boots on the table, of course. Chekio going to be the first
You
one,
put your
I imagine.
boots on the table?
Sometimes, if they're dirty and I need to clean them up a little bit higher. You know, you put a sheet down.
Keep
and then
going.
You don't want to bend down and have to scrub the boots. You know, you put them up on the table so that it's a little bit easier to clean. You can sit on a table. Or you can
You
sit on a
are
chair.
defending a thing you said, not telling the truth, though. That's my guess.
Yeah, but am I wrong?
I think you're wrong about your life, I suppose, yeah.
I mean, my boots
Do
do
you
need
own
some
any
cleaning.
boots?
I do, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
I thought when I was moving recently, I thought, why do I still own these? I live in Georgia
Because
now.
you've been pulling yourself up by the straps, right?
No, they're not that. They're like snow boots.
Well,
Why do
even
I
worse
own
here in
those?
Georgia, yeah.
What's the point?
Fire Giant Dance begins. DJ, play the music as our two teams start to parade around the objective, trying to see if they can manufacture any kind of advantages for themselves. Looks like Outcold have settled for trying to push down the tier 1 on the right-hand side, and not a particularly strong defense from Queso. This might just go down.
Warchi has his Magi's, so that's another player off the table. Spudio loses beads off a good blink initiation from Julio. I don't know, that's tough, because Spudio, this is the long laner versus long laner. Who can make a bigger impact to start a fight?
Julio gets another 2-man Fearless because he just does that all the time. Fear No Evil pushes Chekio away from the damage. Primate's Casper with that ultimate, so they're going to miss out on quite a bit of value there. But it's still a good fight for Outcold. They've taken down Chekio.
That's so crucial. He's been the guy we've been talking about all game long alongside Julio as causing problems for Outcold. So as soon as they see him, they immediately jump all over him, and it is because of those increased wards that we have at this stage of the game. Chekio had a much easier time when the jungle was a little bit more free.
Outcold now threatening the tier 2 tower in right. Remember how this started though? Outcold just kind of decided on a fight on the tier 1 tower and they turned that into their advantage. Julio pushes Breez underneath the tier 2, but Spudio, he won't get the final judgment off. In comes WorstTurttle out of frame, and suddenly Spudio with no beads underneath the tower, able to get the evade and punish off, and that's a ton of distance he covered. Spudio lives.
Here comes Dimi, still lurking as he didn't have to teleport back in, actually, just went and pushed mid a little bit during that engagement. Good defense by Team Queso. Both teams really focusing these long laners now. It's really a matter of can Chekio find a really good angle to end up finding a backliner with a stun and a big transformation, transform into Kuzenbo at this point. I think is a really good one. Set as well, I think would be phenomenal. You really just want to force those beads, Aegis, and then jump all over them and have the ability to get out a little bit later on. Or can Spudio consistently poke out this backline or front line? Thoth really has the potential to do both at this point in the game.
Spudio is such an important piece in this entire game. As you said, him and Chekio both. I mean, because take a look where Warchi is in the player damage chart. He has just not been able to do very much this game, only above Breez on the opposition side. Saying not above the other support when it's Kuzenbo hardly feels fair. Kuzenbo does a ton of damage, but I mean, I don't think Warchi's done quite enough on this Ullr. Had to get Magi's, and I don't think he's wrong.
I don't think so either, man. Draco he just does it, man. He does it right now on this Kuzenbo.
Agreed.
Oh, that's odd.
Okay.
You got the little Windfire Wheels trail following Breez right now.
Oh, yeah. I just thought he was on fire, like having a good game.
We should add that. Some NBA Jam style stuff.
Yeah. Where when you're popping off, you just kind of look cooler as a result of it. Yeah, I like that. You know what? Yeah, I signed. Yeah, put it in.
All right, cool.
I decided.
I'm on it. That is my job.
Well, I wasn't saying that to you directly. I mean, I don't. Do you have, a job here? Are you valuable to us?
Well, maybe don't Hindu man me. Maybe just you and every.
You mean belittle you on air?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It's something that is obviously untrue, but I get no points by defending myself for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's Hindu Manning 101.
Hindu said something on the air the other day, and I couldn't handle it. Just almost Frosty was able to catch him out. He said both sides of an argument and then said, there, covered my bases. I'm right either way.
Yeah, but he does that without saying the last part.
Yeah.
He just says that he just did the thing that you don't say out loud.
Right.
Sound familiar?
Saying the bad stuff out loud, that's what our president's doing, right? We got back to it. Good work, everybody, as Breez in some trouble. And by some trouble, I mean a lot of it. He's stuck inside the watery grave. Good sash. Immune to the damage and somehow gets the Windfire Wheels off for real this time and still alive. Breez with 9 lives.
Easy for him. Chekio already used that transformation into that Hunbatz, but a big ultimate from Prime might be enough to turn the whole fight.
FrostiaK finds a double kill somewhere in the middle of all of that. Final judgment not quite enough there from Spudio. But Outcold have managed to find themselves an advantage. Breez should be back among the fray here soon, and they still have Spudio alive. That's one more thing we haven't mentioned that they don't have. A Hunter, to come in and do some sustained DPS here for this team.
Sure.
This is where you want them, right?
Yeah, Warchi is the only true Hunter on the board, but has really been taken out of these fights pretty consistently early, even with the Magi's. Didn't get a chance to use his Aegis that team fight. Prime that's the danger of Persephone, man. We're gonna fight in the jungle, we're gonna group up, and if we get a little bit too grouped and Prime can find a big ultimate, and then it's not only that, it's Bone Rush as well. Bone Rush does a ton of damage.
It's a lot.
80% scaling, I think, on Persephone's one. Really, really high. If he's able to then flourish kind of offensive / defensively and place a harvest down, then pop it with an auto attack and get that extra root damage off. 220 plus 75%. That is a bunch of damage. It's all in a little cluster. It doesn't take that long to go off.
It's another one of those abilities, or another point in Persephone's kit where it feels like the interaction point isn't necessarily with you. It's a bit of a delayed ability, it can feel like when you're casting it, but when on the other side, it feels like it's happening quick.
Yep.
Getting hit by that bone rush. So you got to be kind of constantly moving whenever you're playing up against Persephone if you don't want to get hit by that. It's a ton of damage, though, but it can feel a bit, I think, weird when you're the person casting it.
Still an adjustment period on that ability, for sure.
Sash and Breez would have been nice there to catch Chekio's Magai's cloak. I think she was stealth for that. Did he just hear her, perhaps, and was going for it? That's not bad. Almost got her there, Breez, so I'll give you a star, I suppose, since you didn't actually hit her.
I was going to say I think you'd rather have hit her, but I don't know, man. A star's pretty nice.
Stars are nice, I agree. Julio finds his way to the back line, able to get to PrettyPriMe and force him to use the beads. That's some CC immunity already forced out. FrostiaK goes for Fear No Evil, doesn't find much there, but neither does Draco on his dive onto the back line. So despite all the action, everyone makes it out for the most part. Prime losing his beads is probably the biggest deal.
Julio lost his, but his are upgraded and he's tier in comparison, so I agree with your assessment. Prime definitely the most vulnerable after all that. Chekio has already sold the boots. He picks up a Magi's instead. Perfect. Now that means that, everyone except for Julio has a Magi's on the side of Team Queso.
Who didn't tell him?
CC Light, man, I'm telling you, it's a huge deal. You got to have an easy to pop CC ability to get rid of these bubbles if you're going to rely on something like Fear No Evil or like Windfire Wheels. Needing to all-in commit just makes it really, really difficult to get rid of those bubbles. And you can tell that Queso's been playing with tier for a long time because look at how many easy CCs they have from a distance in order to get that job done. WorstTurtle's been able to get in and out with Cobra's Kiss. Draco has the ability. Warchi's Axe obviously comes to mind.
Breez, though, taking quite a bit of damage. There's the ultimate from Prime, and this time it lands in a great spot. Final Judgment is right there to follow up, and Warchi incredibly low. Dimi able to do a good job cleaning it up, but it might cost him his life. Dracomarino answers back, but Spudio's having a fight to remember right now. Hieroglyphic Assault sets up for FrostiaK to take out Chekio.
Draco taking damage from that Fear No Evil and actually a little bit on the back end. Great fight. And it starts with PrettyPriMe. No beads, no problem. Let me just sit as far back as I possibly can. And with my Thoth, who can also hit you from basically anywhere on the map, it feels like. Warchi wasn't even in the same area code as those abilities. I mean, he got hit from a truck that left the ground a state away. And he was just walking down the road and got flattened.
That is brutal. A nice team fight there from Outcold. Really love what Spudio did there. He's had himself a set here so far, too. And now they start to threaten this mid-Phoenix. It's just WorstTurttle and Julio to try and slow this one down. WorstTurtle comes for Spudio on the back line. Julio is doing a ton of damage. It's actually a pretty strong defense, considering they only have 2 members up. And Outcold slowing down on this push. Remember, they don't have a traditional Hunter, and this is where Hunters shine.
And Julio with a fully stacked Urchin, a Mantle of Discord, level 20. You just can't fight against him. You can't end up going towards fire because he'll just ignore almost all of you.
Has he not died yet?
No, he's a
41.5 minutes.
Man mountain just walking around.
I guess whenever I say something like that, the response should be, you kill him. Because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Who's going to get in there and kill Julio at this point? You're right. I mean, he's lived this whole time because who's going to do it?
You know what could Tyr accomplish if he had 2 hands? He's doing all this with 1 hand, dude.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Just imagine. My God, he could dual wield massive swords that size.
That sounds right. It would be double Lawbringer, and then Blink wouldn't be his ultimate. Then it would be his ultimate. Right?
Dude, power cleave, he would like slice you with both at the same time. That'd be metal.
That'd be very cool. It would make Tyr probably a lot better, I bet, if he had 2 swords. Yes, I'm right there agreeing.
Do you really think 2 swords is like twice as effective as 1 sword?
Yes, easily. 1 big slow sword is a trap. I hate it. The great sword or whatever you call it, get 2 fast swords every time. I'm all about it.
How are you so passionate about that right away?
Well, I hate to take it back to Breath of the Wild,
yeah,
but I hate the long swords in that game. I'm all about the broadsword, the one hand.
Well, shields are so OP in that game. I feel like it is a big disadvantage to not be able to have one.
I agree. You bring out a spear or something like a big great sword, and they can just shoot you with arrows because you don't have a shield out there. Totally right. Tyr doing it right by having one hand, I guess.
I don't think so.
WorstTurttle steps in aggressively. Last breath dropped on the Spudio, but it's Tyr, one-handed all, looking for PrettyPriMe in the backline. He has to disengage right away. Beads are already out. Drops the ultimate too, all just to try and stop WorstTurtle from hitting some CC. But Breez is right there to keep following up, but can't get the Windfire wheels.
The damage connecting from Windfire wheels procs Mantle of Discord and gives him CC.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was. That is a tilt, man. I would be off this planet. I would be in orbit on Mars right now.
Well, it's flat, so if it tilted, you really could just fall right off, right?
Just straight off, yeah, for sure. That is tough, man, for Breez. I feel for you, dude. Plays it perfectly and just gets hosed by Mantle.
I don't know if you could tell, but I have decided I'm just memeing now, so that's what's going to keep on happening.
Wait, Finch, we're not even close to real high-res hours, though. That's the problem.
Oh my god, this is set 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa. It's 3:30 almost. That can't be right.
Oh, that's correct.
My goodness.
Still have NA to go, baby.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. There's some good NA sets lined up out there. So
that's true.
I am.
Hype Unit Armada right after this, by the way.
That is a huge set, man.
Big land implications.
Armada need to win that.
Yep.
They need to
Pretty
win.
sure Hype Unit clinches if they win that. I don't know if that's mathematically true. I actually think about math as little as possible, and I instead just say things that require math, but hope that they're right.
Wow. I can't believe how earnestly you admitted that. That's crazy.
It's worked out for me so far.
Yeah, it's like having thoughts on a report or a statement that you've never actually read yourself. You know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah.
I'd stop you if you were wrong.
But you can't.
But I can't.
Because I'm not.
You are.
God. It really is all crumbling down. This game's not, though. It is still going strong. 44.5 minutes in, and I still am no closer to determining who's going to win this one. What does either one of these teams need to really go right? Because Prime's hitting big ultimates, Spudio's hitting big final judgments. What's got to go right?
They've got to pick Chekio again. The last fight that went really well for Outcold started with finding Chekio out of position, and now that he doesn't have Magi's, he actually sells it for a Polynomicon to try and get a burst one-shot onto one of these carries. Neither Prime nor Spudio have any defense, so that is certainly on the table, I would say, but not easy.
Breez initiates yet again. Fear no evil.
Good.
Out from FrostiaK in response. Spudio way at the back of the fight, putting out his damage. That's right where he wants to be. But despite that initiation from Breez, not too much aggression. They did get beads from Chekio. That seems to be about it.
It's like a good spot for Queso if you can keep Chekio up, but easier said than done. Now no beads for him, no Magi's, no ultimate. I like the idea of selling Magi's in one way because whenever you transform, you pick up the Magi's bubble on the other side. And so you can get Magi's pretty easily, but a lot of times you need it right away. So that might end up hurting him, I think.
You were asking who does he have kind of pre-selected for the transformation right now, and it might be into this Unbots, because that Fear No Evil came out quick. Is that the right call you feel at this point? This is a big battle. Dimi and Chekio a bit isolated on left-hand side, but he does get some help. Dracomarino makes it in with the Watery Grave. Now it's Dimi who's in trouble. Chekio survived just enough. Dimi also almost had a big skewer there, but it didn't come through in time. WorstTurttle finds a huge pick.
And Outcold is not really doing a whole lot in that time period where Dimi's able to chase down Chekio. That play is good from Dimi if Outcold is pulling fire at the same time, because you're forcing Queso to make a choice. With Dimi being where he was, it's an easy choice for Queso because the rest of Outcold had backed. They'd split up to go get buffs. So a bad position for Dimi to be in if the rest of the team isn't going to be doing the objective.
Fire Giant being considered by Julio, but the rest of the team seems to disagree about its importance. Julio is keeping it leashed at this point too, so Fire Giant is still not resetting the little bit of damage they've put on it. Doug pointing out a giant wave in left, and this could be a good time for Queso to try and press matters further. PrettyPriMe point-blank ultimate in WorstTurttle space, but Breez way too low. Chekio gets his head, but FrostiaK answers back. Divine now with 9 in a row for FrostiaK, but he's got to start to make the disengage.
Good damage coming through from WorstTurttle. That last breath ticking down, and it's just enough to get the shutdown.
Spudio charging the final judgment, but Dracomarino will not let him fire it. There's multiple members of Outcold dead. Queso have the run of the map. as Prime doing damage from the grave, and a good bit of it. Setting up for Spudio to maybe find a kill here. Lets the final judgment loose, but doesn't find it.
Julio's in a little bit of trouble, but not enough. Spudio just had a couple moments that fight where he wanted to keep doing the same thing, which is follow up off of Prime's ult with final judgment, but Julio was tethered, crippled, no ultimate available, and Spudio instead is charging ultimate looking for the hero play. If he just cancels that charge and starts pounding Julio with Hieroglyphic Assault, he's dead in that spot. I think that was a pretty big mistake, and I get it. I mean, Final Judgment, such a big, such a big turning potential, but I think that we could have seen a little bit more.
Dimi teleports in. He had to have been expecting Fire Giant to be under siege, but it just wasn't at that point. So now he's teleported into a bad spot where he could potentially be giving his life away. Last breath on him, forced into using the beads. Does have the Hieroglyphic Assault from Spudio to back him up, but Dimi just kind of gets mugged.
Lost the beads for it and the Magi's. A lot of damage.
And the ult, I think? I couldn't tell.
Yep, and the ult.
And now he might lose even more as WorstTurttle catches him out with the Cobra's Kiss. This is all in name of grabbing the Fire Giant. And Ryan, believe it or not, we're 48.5 minutes in. There has not been one claimed yet.
Nope, no, only a couple Furies as well. Breez on the way. Not enough damage from Warchi right now in order to get this down quickly. Spudio's ultimate's back up already.
Yeah, Spudio could make its way into contest if he can push WorstTurttle off. Breez is in there to throw his hat into the ring as Fire Giant's low, and Queso grabs the first one here of the match. It doesn't look like they want to fight on the back end, but FrostiaK does. He takes away from Warchi. That might have been the priority target to remove.
Both relics still up for Warchi, but I like him holding the Aegis there. He's already dead, just took too much damage from fire. Queso just don't have a lot of objective damage with this composition, and it really does hurt them even 50 minutes in.
And Outcold, we're doing just enough, I think, to keep Queso from feeling comfortable all-inning the objective for what it was worth. So now it's Outcold pushing up. They've got a 5v4 advantage. They'll strip some from the jungle as Queso back up to spend some gold. I don't know how long they can stay pushed up, though, into a Fire Giant team.
Roughly 40 seconds, because Warchi spawns in about 45. Looks like no Phoenix attempt. Left side tier 2 feels much more guaranteed, but also way less important. It does end up mattering on a potential turnaround and try and end the game in one quick burst sort of moment. You want to get as many of these towers off the map as you can. I do think this is worth Outcold's time. This is more important than Gold Fury because this will make that Titan less tanky.
They'll grab the tier 2 tower on the left. They've even got a big wave to continue to push with. This is about all they'll likely do. Chekio in the right lane is threatening that tier 2 tower kind of by himself once he gets his wave to push up. This is a beefy wave indeed. Should be able to do some damage here unless someone shows up in time, and I don't think they will. He has a good chance to take this.
He's got it under wraps, man. Yeah,
hello.
that's 600 polyauto on the tower as well. Enhanced Fire Giant's a hell of a drug, man, when it comes to taking down towers.
It's not bad at all. We've all seen that intro where Bellona and Loki and them all enjoy a little bit of Fire Giant juicing. Maybe that's what's happening here.
I've seen so many little tiny bits and pieces of that cinematic these days. I haven't gone back and watched it in its entirety in a long time. I should do that just for context.
It's a really good video. And a lot of people, I've heard some people say they didn't like the song that is, what is it, Sockets by Slaves, I think. It's a great song. It's a great video. We did a good job with that.
Yeah, I think it's 10 out of 10, man. I don't know about all that.
Y'all, believe it or not, some people in our community are occasionally wrong.
What?
Left side.
Wait, like who, man?
Just Reddit, probably. That's a good place to start. Breez blinks in. There's the blink into Horrific Emblem you alluded to literally half an hour ago, and that's been dropped by Breez. Yeah, more than that. Queso, it's enough to slow down Queso's push. Left side Phoenix still stands.
Yeah, but Breez got, for Blink Horrific Emblem with Relic Daggers, they're up in 60 seconds or so, he got beads from Chekio and ultimate from Chekio. My man slamming buttons as soon as he heard the blink. He got out of there all right, but it cost him enough that looks like this Fire Giant's going to get a whole lot of nothing for Queso.
I'm a bit surprised that they weren't able to grab an actual Phoenix on the back end of it. At the very least, they'll get Gold Fury, but 52 minutes into the game, that's the least valuable Fury. I just don't know what that does for them here.
Maybe
I guess
close out a
Outcold
3K? Yeah, I mean, make sure you get a 3K.
The good ones can't spawn until you get it.
Right.
So that is good. That's the best thing they got from it.
Yes, that is important. You shouldn't be ignoring Gold Fury entirely, but it should be the... Anyone want to do anything, you know?
It should be guaranteed that you'll lose nothing for doing it, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah. And that box is checked, for sure. But I guess they're waiting around for this next Fire Giant. I mean, losing Warchi is a really big deal, man. He
Agreed.
is so much of your objective damage, but not all of it. You saw how hard the Morrigan was hitting on that tier 2 tower,
Yeah.
but with a Polyproc on a Phoenix, he could have taken it for sure.
I am a bit surprised they've been this reserved, but we already talked about it, about how much this set really does matter for both of these two teams. I believe with a win, both of these teams will, at least record-wise, end up tying Flashpoint as a result of their loss earlier today. They're 5-3 right now, Flashpoint. I believe these two teams are both 4-3, having come into this match, so they'd be able to catch up whoever wins. And then even the loser is not that far out of the picture as a result. That's how important I think this match is.
You can tell that that's weighing on both of these squads. I mean, they're playing this very, very slowly. I'm not even going to go with the usual
Cautious,
calculated.
Don't give away that subtext there, Aggro. Come on, man. Don't do that.
You know, just like me admitting that I say things that have to do with math without actually doing it, I think that if you've been paying attention, you should know. Like,
But that's what that means.
that shouldn't,
shock any, blow any minds.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't think that should be a huge surprise to anybody.
There's some dude in front of his, setup watching this game, and his mind just exploded all over his monitor. He's like, "No way! They didn't mean that when they said it."
What? No way. But it is calculated, guys. But guys, they are playing it with a lot of gravitas. You know, they're
precision.
Yeah, precision. Yeah.
Two things that come to my mind when I think of precision: 54-minute games and Mason Rudolph. That dude's a heat-seeking missile.
I can't believe you spoiled the next god from the Greek pantheon that's being added to the game.
Looks like we do have a brief pause coming out here. We'll get back into the game here momentarily. I promise we are still broadcasting, and I am indeed still a professional here. We'll let them get that sorted out, though. Ryan, I asked you this 10 minutes ago, though. What is it feel like going to be that break case? I mean, if Fire Giant or for your team here, the enhanced one isn't enough, what does Queso need to see to feel comfortable pushing?
They've got to end up wiping out Outcold at this rate. Someone's got to check FrostiaK. There's been so much dive onto Prime and onto Spudio, and it's been successful enough for Queso, but FrostiaK's been in the backline really consistently in this game. 12-3. He's 3rd overall in player damage, which is really high for an assassin, especially an assassin like Batz. At 55 minutes in the game, I think that I'd like to see someone from Queso, whether that's Draco or whether that's WorstTurttle, sticking next to Warchi and next to Chekio and try and help out.
I'm really starting to doubt that Queso thought this game would go 55 minutes, though, because Warchi's Ullr hasn't done much at all this game. I mean,
No.
15K is just not enough, and I don't see a way for that to start turning around for him. He can certainly still have big fights and blow someone up quickly, but he's not going to be shooting up the damage charts, I don't think, anytime soon.
No, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, no Odysseus bow to really start to pile in that damage really quickly. That's kind of the big one for Hunters to catch up on the charts in the late game. Seems to really feel like he needs the Magi's. At this rate, I think that Mantle might just be better for him, just giving him that extra protection. I think everyone probably kicking themselves. Anytime you think, hey, maybe I should go high to the Urchin, then it's like, man, I should have gone high. I would have gotten so much value out of it at this point. It just, Julio has been unkillable largely because he has a fully stacked high to the Urchin.
It's one of the most winning items in the game, I believe, once it's fully stacked. I think it is classified differently from the regular Urchin in terms of how they track the stats on it. But yeah, when you get this stacked, usually it just does so much for you.
You know what my least favorite part of this item is? Why does it have 51 of each prod?
I assume it's some math thing, but we know you don't do that.
Sure don't. Get that out of my face, man. Round it down. Every stack is worth this amount except for the last one, which is worth 1 less. Because then I get 50 of each.
Is that right even? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Julio forced to use the Lawbringer defensively as Dimi pushes him out of the Fire Giant pit. Outcold Gaming starting to get some control here around the actual pit itself, but not necessarily feeling comfortable pulling the objective here at this point. And SMITE changes so much at this point in the game. You're now at a point where anyone can likely kill just about anyone else in 1v1s. So you have to be so careful about your positioning. It doesn't take long for with these windows nowadays for Fire Giants to go down, Phoenixes, all these things. It does change the game so much now in this 5v5 in the in-game.
It's hard. It's hard to stay focused in moments like this, honestly, as a player. You really do end up letting, your mind slip away a little bit. You're getting hungry. Man, I really got to go to the bathroom. Like, all this kind of stuff. starts to enter your mind a little bit. And you got to have someone who's there to keep you locked in, but also keep it a little bit light. I mean, you can't just be sitting there 57 minutes in, death gripping your mouse as hard as possible and, you know, hunched over and locked in 6 inches from your monitor. I mean, you got to have someone who can also, you know, keep you focused, but not, you know, be okay with having a little bit of fun just to keep your mind in it.
Dimi is able to get far enough away that he's okay with taking a bit too much of a commitment there from Queso to actually lock him down, so he is indeed able to disengage. But you're right, man, it's such a tightrope that you're walking, not just within the game, but in terms of your player focus. They understand, both of these teams, how important this match is, basically kind of gifted away back in by a disappointing performance from Flashpoint earlier today, and they have a chance to you know, to make it here to land. As Julio, does he lose his Mag Eyes off that? Or
no, he doesn't have one. That's yeah, right. He doesn't have one. It's a weird pull a little bit. I mean, look at where Chekio is. Chekio is just waiting by red for someone from Outcold to go get it. I don't hate it that much, honestly. I mean, he's not able to get in normally.
I'm surprised this hasn't worked for him yet, actually.
It's not ranked, man. We're not suiciding for red buff in competitive.
They got the read that he might be over there then at the very least. Call from Outcold to let that buff just chill for now and instead make sure that they're where they need to be, which is around this fire giant in case it does get pulled here at any moment. As you said, we're long past the point of boots needing to be sold even for our supports. It's essentially potions that are the only difference from any gold. Chekio just settles for red. You know, it's effectively doing the same thing, right? They don't know that it's down, so you might as well take it.
He's going to push this wave in left, try and force a response. Dimi does have teleport, so it's not all bad. He's trying to hide himself from the wave, not show that he's the one who pushed it, and just make it look like the minions grouped up naturally. It's something that you can do on Loki really well, where you stealth in, drop your 2 in a spot where it doesn't group the minions too much, but also clears them pretty well, and it'll just eventually look like waves are disappearing from the map without being cleared by anyone. But it's a little bit harder on the Morrigan. You have to stay far enough away from the wave that you're only dark omening the melees so that you don't show up on the wave. It's a really weird sort of idea, but it can work. It can end up with you or a giant wave on the Phoenix without anyone really noticing.
Prime trying to pull off that balancing act the best that he can. And I wonder if Outcold are kind of running into that lack of a front line here, and really just a lack of a good initiation. These Mag-Eyes cloaks are such a big problem for them, and they don't have anyone who can go in and just drop a big Cataclysm. The best is FrostiaK dropping Fear No Evil, and that does catch Chekio making a rotation. He's now low and a bit vulnerable, so Dimi willing to commit, but Chekio turns into the Fear No Evil to try and drop it, but it doesn't save him. Dimi claims his life. In comes the ultimate from Prime, that trapped 2, but Queso full-on disengaged. Except for way down here, WorstTurttle. A nice flick there from Spudio.
Really good turn and burn. PrettyPriMe with a bone rush as well. Flattens WorstTurtle. And now it's a matter of what Outcold Gaming want to get. Wake back up, everybody. Action happened, and there were some kills. It's a matter of what Outcold feel like they can grab. They tried to do this last time. Ignore the Fire Giant, go right for mid-Phoenix. But a full health Kuzenbo, a full health Tier, and a full health Ullr stand in their way.
And the action from Ullr is certainly still worth something considering, even if you don't think Ullr's damage is that relevant at this point. He can set up some CC, stop some pushes as Draco dives in by himself. Breez in some trouble as he's underneath the Phoenix, but Julio and Warchi shut that down. 5 members of Outcold stalling at the front door at the gates right now of the base of Queso.
Ansel, I believe, is what just got Draco out of that route. Indeed it was. Axe critical to make sure he's out. FrostiaK wants it. Doesn't have his ultimate quite yet, as Julio still buying time on this front line.
20 seconds away from Chekio being here, 30 from WorstTurttle, and Queso expending every resource they have to keep this base standing. They do lose their mid-Phoenix, but 60 minutes in to lose 2 and to still hold on to the game is not bad at all. Team Queso certainly still in this one.
It's not like they're going to have trouble clearing the fire waves either. They've got, I think they've got enough itemization to handle fire waves in mid.
I feel like they could still get some more.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe, this is where you should be able to, like, buy one 8,000 gold item that's just 500 power. Like, we just need the ultra items that really blow the game wide open.
I mean, there was a while where it was like, man, we don't even make it to Elixir of Speed, you know, it felt like, and we don't even get to some of these late game stuff, but sometimes you have some games like this, man, where you're wishing there was a little bit more to spend your money on. I mean, we saw a couple pots come through just now, but for the most part, everyone is even there at that point on their power spikes and haven't gotten potions.
Yeah, having too much money and nothing to buy, big problem for me all the time.
Yeah, I agree, man. You know, there are just some people who have way more than they could ever hope to spend. Way more.
Yeah, like me.
If they spent all day trying, they couldn't do it.
That's me.
Yeah, you is who are
I try.
Ryan Aggro Bailey. You actually do that with magic cards and buying cup stacking sets. You do try.
Hey, man. Why are you coming at me like that?
I don't know. That was your bit. Yes, and
I know, but then it got too real. New set just came out for Magic, and I'm like,
What are you gonna do, man?
What am I gonna buy?
you got to get Shadowkeep too, man. We got some raiding to do, boys.
True.
Hop back in there as well. Bunch of cool new skins just came out here in Smite. They're pulling at the wallet. I don't know what you're gonna do. Got to get that
Except
Odyssey.
that I have a problem and just buy everything I want.
That's the best you can do. That's actually not a bad ult there from Prime at all. It's got WorstTurttle in a bit of a tough spot. He finally manages to make his way out of there, but Frosty has already claimed Czechia. We've already talked about how important his life in particular is, as Outcold going to come back and grab the tier 2 and right.
FrostiaK is hard carry this game, man. I mean, he's been able, without any sort of help on the backline dive. Dimi's been there a lot of times, but so many times it's been FrostiaK by himself getting the job done. He gets it there again as Czechia realizes, all right, maybe I do still need the Magi's, but might be too little too late.
And I'm not saying never, but it's not often that I feel like Frosty's the one that carries for Outcold. Dimi has played really well, so has Prime and Spudio, but Frosty's stepping up for him when they need him most in a really important set. They're now threatening the right side. Phoenix, WorstTurttle tries to make his way in, but cannot do so safely. In comes FrostiaK as well on the right side. Phoenix comes down. Julio blinks in for a Fearless, doesn't find much there. And Outcold slowly but surely start to break their way in. In fact, Breez has found himself a target. Final Judgment charge, but not released. I think WorstTurttle might have cut that off.
He sure did, but I don't think it would have been the right target anyways. That was Julio, still at full HP.
6-0 and 9, by the way, still.
Difficult to bring him down even with the Final Judgment.
Final Judgment's just a cool ability.
I'll retweet that.
Yeah, I think I could sign off on it. They got mid and right side Phoenix now at this point, and this is starting to be enough, I think, to start changing this game state. Queso are going to have to defend these fire waves. They need these Phoenixes to get back up and be healthy for these defenses, and Outcold can threaten around this fire giant a lot more now.
But still, they have no Hunter. I mean,
Yeah.
Queso might just mess around and contest this fire giant. You know that Prime and Spudio don't have purification beads. You got those right around the same time because of Julio's really good Fearless. So maybe Queso feels like this is their opportunity to defend. Czechio's Relic's coming up soon. Neither of those carries has Magi's, so a stun from Czechio or any sort of CC into a transformation Hunbat's ultimate could end the game in favor of Queso.
WorstTurttle has pushed up to try and get some information, but he might get collapsed on. Still has ambush. Use that to get over the wall, so he is A-okay. Outcold committing way more members to zoning than to DPS, and they're not going to be able to burn this fire giant quickly, so it looks like Queso are indeed coming out to this party, not going to let the FG go down for free.
Mid Phoenix back up, so it's a pretty easy defense. I mean, the two Phoenixes that Outcold have gotten are the two easiest to defend for Queso while still staying present for the fire giant.
That's exactly what they've done here so far. WorstTurttle stepping forward, loses the Magi's cloak, but wants to try and force something. He's used all of his abilities to move in aggressively. This feels like a lapse in judgment here from WorstTurtle, and it might end up costing them. Final Judgment comes through. Still not enough for the kill. Breez with a sash finally claims his life. WorstTurtle goes down, but Outcold haven't done much more than that just yet.
Julio's in trouble though, but not a lot of ultimates left on the table. Dimi, the only one who still has his available.
Julio is indeed low, and FrostiaK finally gets him. 66 minutes, that's such a long time to ask for WorstTurtle to keep making really good choices, and I think he might finally have shown a few cracks there, as this has looked like it might be the push that Outcold need.
This could be it indeed. Draco just has so many cooldowns though with those shell spikes. FrostiaK has Blink, Fear No Evil still down, but Spudio lands a root.
Dracomarino's low, they can't chase this for too long, and they don't have to. A nice sash comes out from Breez, and Warchi and Czechio, just the carries left to try and make the defense happen, but I don't know if they can do it. Right Phoenix is down, they'll come right through that path and start to move towards the Titan.
Gotta end it here, man. You've got 40 plus seconds. Relics on both your carries, ultimate for Prime and Spudio. Just got to get a wave in. They're being pretty patient with this. They'll have a good shot.
They're very hesitant, but they still don't have a lot of their ultimates. Dimi, though, is done waiting around. He moves into the Titan room. Chekio biding his time in the stealth, but still Outcold playing this one slow. They now have a mini wave moving in. This might be what they were waiting for. Now they can take their opportunity. Dimi on the actual Titan. Final judgment just deletes Warchi from the game. Titan down to half HP. That's a deicide, and Outcold Gaming finally at 67.5 minutes of play take the set.
Fastest 67 minutes of my life. Outcold Gaming with a deicide and ends up 5 for 0. And FrostiaK does so much, but that last team fight, really all the credit in my mind goes to Breez. Breez had a 6 sash onto WorstTurttle, gets the Magi's. WorstTurttle definitely makes a very bad decision by going in, don't get me wrong. But then Breez lands the ultimate. WorstTurttle looks like he's about to escape. Breez hits a max range sash to make sure that PrettyPrime's plants get the job done. That's what you need sometimes, just a good individual play by one end and a mistake on the other.
Outcold Gaming have now thrown their hat in the ring for this spot towards making it to the placement week. And remember how much this team struggled back in Phase 1. This really didn't seem like an option for them to be a real player here in the SML EU, but they have continued to grind with Breez as their support. I think that's really been a big anchor for this team.
Yep.
Dimi, FrostiPriMe, and Spudio all continuing to improve every single week, and now they're right there in the middle of it with everyone else.
Right where we feel like they should have belonged all year long,
Sure.
but they may have finally arrived towards the top end of the European minor league.
And you may not believe this, but we still have 2 more sets to go, and I promise
right.
those are going to be really good too. SMLNA is coming your way after this break.